Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. We have a full quorum present with council members McKenzie, Karn, Arnold, and Gay. So I will call the meeting to order at this time at 7:30 with my continuing objections to the omnibus bill that was passed by this council on January 2nd and ordinance 2024-01. So we will go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chaplain Walker is handling our invocation this evening.
Mayor, and ladies and gentlemen of the council.
Evening.
This is a special day, so I have provided or pondered over and am ready to give a 20-minute invocation. April Fools. Let us pray. Out of the silence and quietness, may we hear the still small voice of the divine that calls us to awareness of the right and the duty to ponder universal, inclusive love. Rise up, O Lord, in our minds and hearts, so we can proceed with this city council meeting. We pray to be stirred with compassion and clear thinking, so that the business of the city can include everyone present and those who are on video. May this be a profitable meeting. We give thanks, O Lord, for our mayor and our city council persons who work on our behalf to have a more secure and vital and concerned city order, to respond adequately to the forces of disorder that seek to keep us from clear thought and right action. We also give thanks for all of those who work for College Park and labor on our behalf, and especially the leadership that all provide. We encourage, O Lord, and all present in this meeting to be mindful that you are accepted. You are a valued person. Your thoughts and your feelings are respected and requested. Send us the spirit of truth, justice, and the impetus for our search for life, liberty, and happiness, so we can love each other and our neighbors as we love ourselves. May we leave this meeting, O Lord, with the feeling and the knowledge that the concerns of the city have been heard, addressed with diligence and compassion. In the name of faith, hope, and love. Amen.
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 The next item is additions, deletions, amendments, and changes to the agenda.
Are there any?
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold?
I would like to add to the agenda for a motion to reconsider the vote from March 18th when mayor and council approved the rezoning of the property at 0 Welcome All Road from business park to light industrial zoning.
If you could read that one more time.
Yes, I would like to reconsider the motion that passed on March 18th, 2024, where mayor and council approved the rezoning of the property located at 0 Welcome All Road from business park zoning classification to light industrial M1 zoning classification.
All right, any other additions, deletions, amendments, or changes?
I think we have an item that's being moved.
It was moved from workshop,
Already,
though.
okay.
Yeah, so, all right, hearing none. Is there a motion? Hearing none. That does not get added.
Okay. The next item is to approve the agenda.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you,
Now,
Councilmember Carr.
Are we going to be moving that other item to executive session? Is that
The workshop item, yes.
workshop
Yeah,
item?
that's already,
Okay, that's already set
Yeah.
to move. Okay.
all right. There's a motion to approve the agenda as is. And from Councilmember Carn, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Arnold. So, Councilmembers McKenzie, Carn, and Gay were in favor of approval of the agenda. Councilmember Arnold was opposed, and so that passes.
The next item is presentation of minutes, regular session minutes dated March 18, 2024.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously.
The next item is workshop session minutes dated March 18, 2024.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I heard all four of you there. That is unanimous.
Next, we have proclamation, resolutions, plaques, and announcement, and we're going to announce the All-Star of the Month by Krista Gilbert.
Let's come down and greet her. Everybody gets to see her anyway. This is so exciting. I'm excited.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This employee joined the City of College Park in June 2019 and has been a tremendous asset. Her role is crucial in setting a positive tone and ensuring everyone who enters the doors feels welcome and assisted. Her ability to effectively direct individuals to the appropriate department or persons is a testament to her skills and dedication. Her position requires multitasking and managing inquiries from residents, employees, and business owners. The All-Star of the Month is Ms. Renita Reeves.
I would just like to add that she is a member of the fabulous city clerk's office. That's it, yes. The next item on the agenda is remarks of citizens. And with the approval from city manager, we are going to allow Ms. Jordana Arias from Fulton County Government to speak first.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordana Arias from Fulton County Government, Department of External Affairs. I am the new legislative policy analyst, and so I work very closely with the Board of Commissioners, going around the cities, connecting with all the 15 cities, reporting back and exploring collaboration opportunities. And so I just want to introduce myself to you guys. I already connected with Councilman Carn, and so I'll be sending an email. But I wanted to ask you also if you'd be interested in a voter registration bus to come to the city. Anyways, I'm just going around the 15 cities, learning more about the community issues and see how the county can best support and work with you guys. And so I'm excited to be here. I'll be coming more often and like I said, just looking, exploring opportunities to collaborate and to establish, partnership and foster a better working relationship. Anyways, thank you so much for the time, and I look forward to working closely with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mose James IV, 1950 Rugby Avenue, to discuss information provided to public.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Play, please.
So this is the agenda item addition with no supporting documentation to accept $1.6 million.
Madam Mayor, I don't have these documents with me here.
You just heard the city manager tell the mayor he would give supplemental documents to a $1.6 million grant to the city clerk the next day. Our city council went on to unanimously vote to accept $1.6 million grant from Next Era Energy, although they had no terms and no agreements surrounding the money. I was interested in this document, so I filed a Freedom of Information request with our city, and a couple of days later, I learned that the city would only receive $200,000 once they rezoned Zero Welcome All Road, which they happened to do at that meeting on March 18th. In order to receive the next installment, the city would need to award a construction contract, which would net them $600,000. The remaining $800,000 wouldn't come until the city gave over building permits to Next Era Energy. According to my Freedom of Information request, this is a document that our city manager provided in support of that grant from March 18th. I was a little more interested, so I looked into the metadata surrounding this document that the government sent me. Metadata, it provides a little extra information that's hidden inside of a file. In that metadata, I learned that even though this file was dated on it, or even though it read March 18th, the file wasn't created until March the 20th. That means that our city council, these people sitting in front of us, decided to accept a $1.6 million grant that was tied to supplemental information that wasn't created until 48 hours after they made the vote. Please play.
there was a bit of false advertising that was put on social media regarding this grant that we are receiving. A document was circulating, maybe 2 documents. It was an email that we were passing back and forth between Next Era and the council members, and someone apparently who had access or saw that email, well, actually the mayor put it on her website.
There was the voice of our councilwoman, Ms. Jamil McKenzie. She insinuated that this fictitious grant was something fake, something that was put out fraudulently by our mayor. Only problem is I got this information the same place that the mayor got it. I got it through a Freedom of Information request, and I got it from our government. So last night, our councilwoman, Jamil McKenzie, she put out a new document on her website. In this document, it stated what she claimed to be the real agreement, which read, Southwest Atlanta Energy Storage LLC hereby offers to the City of College Park, Georgia, a community development grant.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like
Sherry
to-
Godfrey's leading.
Please let him continue.
A community development grant in the amount of $1.6 million, the payment and timing of which sums shall be made in the company's sole discretion. Later it states the Community Development Grant Award is unrelated to any applications of building permits or approvals by the Southwest Atlanta Energy Storage Company. That way, it's unrelated to any building permits or other approvals the Southwest Atlanta Energy Storage may submit to the City of College Park. It seems like a complete 180 on the document that we saw a week before. So again, I was curious, when did this document come about? Well, even though it was dated March 28th, which happened to be that same meeting that many of us came out to last Thursday. Funny thing is, that document was created earlier that day, about 2 hours before the meeting started. So even though this council voted on that document 10 days prior, it wasn't created until me and my other neighbors came and sat in this meeting. Give me 1 second. You may look at this action on March 18th meeting, and there were no conditions attached, there was no vote attached. I'm sorry, go ahead and hit play one more time for me.
My predecessor, who was an electrical engineer, worked diligently to champion this particular project and to ensure that all of the 13 specific safety protocols were put in as a condition for this facility to take residence in College Park.
That was another statement that our council person said at last Thursday's meeting. The problem is, when the vote actually went through, there were no conditions attached to this vote. You can go to our city's action page and see it yourself. But let's go a little bit further. Our council person talks about Ambrose Clay and how he was a champion of this. Well, Ambrose Clay just happened to send an email to a very close friend of mine following that meeting. This is what he said. I was surprised to learn that at this past Monday's council meeting, Councilman Gay moved to renew the previous motion to rezone the Welcome All Road property. A second motion was to accept a grant from the Southwest Battery Storage Facility. Both of these motions passed. What concerns me, and again, this is Councilman Clay talking, what concerns me is that there was no indication in the publicly available information that the rezoning motion that was passed included any technical and construction safeguards that I negotiated during last year's approval attempt. I also wonder whether you and your neighbors were aware that this was coming up for vote again. That was Councilman Clay 1 day after this council met last week. My problem is, the battery storage is something that nobody would want.
Thanks.
What's your name?
Dom Kelly.
It's something nobody would want in their backyard. But what the citizens of this community want is transparency from our government. What nobody in this community wants is to wake up one night and something that you've been told by your council members previously has totally switched the next day, and then to come and find out that it's all for the sum of $1.6 million to the harm and the detriment of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Lincoln Turner, 1974 Rugby Avenue, to discuss council governance.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Lincoln Turner, and there are a few things that have been bothering me since the new council's come in office, and I'd just like to share them. And I would put these under the category of anti-democratic practices. Number one is you all were elected by the people, and so is our mayor. You all are our representatives, and so is our mayor. And I find it very disturbing that our mayor, who has information to share when we are meeting to help us make better decisions, is not allowed to speak. I just don't see a rationale for that. To me, that is anti-democratic. The second thing is adding items to agendas at the last moment. So when we're talking about this battery storage grant, you all knew there was controversy previously. So the idea that you would add this without giving the public notice so they can participate in these conversations is also anti-democratic. The third thing has to do with questions not being answered. I've watched a lot of meetings, and a lot of very good questions have been raised, and I'm just not hearing answers. The gentleman who spoke before me just seemed to insinuate that there were documents that were created at later dates than members up here have been claiming. That's a serious accusation, and I would assume that you all, for the state of our democracy, for the trust that we place in you, would provide proof that he's wrong. Because if you're not providing proof that he's wrong, we have to assume that he's right. There are many other questions that have been asked, and they haven't been answered. That's just one example. Luckily, there's a recourse for this, and that recourse is the recall process. In my line of work, if I make a hiring mistake, I need to fix it quickly or else there are grave consequences. I think we are at the point where we as a community need to start putting the recall on the table. The reason for that is College Park deserves better. There's a common saying that the people get the government they deserve. And as a city, we deserve better than this. So I'll just encourage all the people who love College Park to start thinking about whether we can continue down this road or whether we need to quickly change course via the recall process. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ames?
Next is Julie McGark, 1917 Virginia Avenue. Okay, moving on, we have Millie Gosh, 2348 Rugby Avenue, to discuss governance. I'm sorry, Millie, if you don't mind, James Walker is before you. 2071 Rugby Avenue, to discuss police cameras and communication.
So, to all those that think that this is a racial thing, what you've just witnessed is 3 Morehouse men coming before you. Black Morehouse men telling you about the injustice. And you know who I'm talking to. Councilwoman Arnold, I thank you for your courage to stand up and make an attempt to renew a motion that should not have passed. It's a shame where we are today. People want to make this a racial thing, and it's not. It's all about doing what's right for the community. So before you get up here and purport to speak for black men, men that have gone to an HBCU, and put forth your divisive rhetoric, I ask you to think about your actions. You all were elected to do the will of the people, not the will of yourself. For whatever motives you have, we will be watching. A 2023 report by Morehouse School of Medicine declared South Fulton as a health care desert. 0 pulmonologists, 0 cardiologists, 0 infectious disease specialists. But yet and still, you want to put a battery plant where we aren't close to a level 1 trauma center. where we are not equipped via our firefighters and our first responders. If this fails, if something happens, you have a multi-jurisdictional issue. South Fulton, Clayton County, Hateville, and College Park. But yet, as my colleague said, this reeks with impropriety. And it's okay when I can sit up here and call the mayor out about something that I don't like, but when I file a file amongst council members, you all want to turn a blind eye and act like you don't hear me. You want to look down at your paper, act like you don't see me. You see me. You hear me. And we will not stop. We will be here every Monday, every other Monday, and every Monday if I can come in to speak about what is wrong with College Park. It is not enough that we have to sit here for the first 60, 90 days and go through this turmoil. And you all know good and well, everybody's watching everything you do. And don't act like I didn't try to tell you. Oh, we've had some phone conversations. And Councilman Gay, don't text me anymore, okay? I'm tired of you texting me. Let's talk in public, okay? Enough is enough. I am not here to make friends. I'm here to stand up for what is right in our community, regardless of who is doing the foul play, who is putting forth what we feel is a non-transparent way of doing things. All we're asking for is transparency.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like for him to continue.
We deserve it. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. What?
Next is Millie Gosh.
My name is Millie Gosh. First of all, gentlemen before me, kudos, thank you very much. I came Thursday night, and I actually got to speak. I was really surprised, so it sort of threw me off guard because I thought you guys were doing a filibuster for an hour and not going to let anybody have a comment. So when they called my name, I was really not prepared. But I am tonight because I want to go on record to say that I want to know why Monday night happened the way it happened and why you people thought you could get away with that. I want to understand. We're not stupid. I've experienced rezonings near properties that we own and always has the same process. And we were not at the Monday meeting that this occurred. We were actually driving home the next day and listened to it, and we were like, what just went down? And so we played it back and we're like, surely not. But it did. So I'm waiting. I want to hear. I want to understand. I do want to understand. The first thing that they tell you to do is to try to understand where the other people are coming from before you make a judgment. So I'm here. We're here. All I saw Thursday night was an attempt to hush everybody up. And Jamel, it didn't take any research for me to realize that what happened during the process on Monday night, the 18th, was wrong. I didn't have to go research that. I didn't have to read anybody else's website or have anybody else try to tell me something. It was obvious by your actions. So we deserve better. We love this community. We're showing up every time you guys meet. No matter when you try to have a meeting, we're here. We're not going away, as Mr. Walker said. Maybe somebody could explain this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Michael Hightower, 1514 Cleveland Avenue.
Madam Mayor, Michael Hightower, members of council. I came by to first say a thank you to the city manager and to Ms. Mercedes. This past Wednesday, the 20th, we had We held our 22nd annual South Metro Conference out here in College Park. Let me just tell you, it was fabulous. We had roughly 642 people in attendance. And I want to again say to Mercedes and her staff, they went beyond to make sure that we were accommodated. We paid the bill, plus she charged me a lot of money, but seriously, I want to just say thanks for College Park having this event. I received a few questions about why don't you go downtown and say, this is the place for this event for South Metro. There's no other place other than the Georgia Royal Current Center that can host this event in Metro Atlanta, unless you go north of North. So again, I want to say thank you to the city, Mr. Manager and Mercedes, and we had several great sessions. Feedback was awesome, and everything from AI to, of course, electric vehicles, the annual State of the Economy, State of the Region. And of course, we also honored several individuals, including Jay Bailey. I think Mr. Collins, you were there for that event. And we had some other honorees, including Kerry Armstrong, the former chair of the Atlanta Digital Commission. Holly Greenwood spoke. You got a chance to meet them, Mr. Manager. We also had one of our local natives of Old National, we call him Old National Highway, Mr. Jermaine Dupree. And let me just say for the record, we honored him because of his involvement, not just on hip hop, but the American Public Transit Association honored him as it relates to having that message sent throughout the country and explain the importance, you were there as well, of what this means to transit. He also gave a moving testimony about his days in College Park, what public transit meant to him. So I'm just here to say thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate y'all's support. And Mercedes, thank you again, and next time don't charge you so much money. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Ms. Ames, before you proceed, I know that there's some important sports developments happening, but I keep on hearing somebody's ESPN tracker, so if you could just silence your phones. Ms. Ames, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you out like that.
But I need the timer, so.
Okay.
I'll find another way next time. Sorry. Proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
The next person to sign in is Demetrius Taylor, Embarcadero Club Apartments, to discuss town hall meeting.
All right, Madam Clerk, you may strike my email comments, please.
Will do.
I'm here in person. Hello, everyone. Hello. Y'all know who I am? And y'all know I am not the voice of the people, I am the people. I want to take this time and say thank you for the noble attempt to the council, what you tried to do with scheduling the town hall meeting surrounding the $1.6 million grant. Though the attempt was formidable, it missed the mark because the citizens were hoping to have an interactive dialogue with questions answered that were raised and answered in real time. The perception is increasing that prepared statements are being generated as a quote-unquote cover-up, and we want to remove any suspicion of nefarious dealings. Moving forward, I would recommend that the town halls, there is time scheduled to answer questions in real time. Transparency should never be damage control. Madam Mayor, from this point on, there should never be no question that your voice is silenced ever again. At the last council meeting, the way that you intercepted the discussion by posing a question for clarity to the city manager prior to calling the motion has always been your power to do, and was a perfect demonstration that you are not silenced at all. Only the contrary, but you are very boisterous. You were able to be heard, you were able to establish miscommunications, and you were able to shine a light on procedures. Your voice is not silenced, ma'am. I remember when you and Councilman Carnes went through this terrible debate on this style of communication for issues prior to the motion being called becoming the standard procedures. However, you were insistent that the Robert's Rule of Order be maintained. So perhaps this is something that we need to reconsider, and so that this lawsuit debacle can come to an end. As for the public comment time, I would like to introduce these considerations for possible options. Either extend the time for public comments from 36 minutes to 60 minutes so that more people are able to talk and communicate with you, or keep public comments at 36 minutes in person, and still allow for the email comments to be read afterwards so that it's fair. Those comments need to be read on the record as well. Too many times the email comments are bumped due to timing restrictions. And finally, I would like to ask, how are we collecting from our businesses on all of the back monies owed? When Councilman Derek Taylor was in office, that was his Achilles heel in his project, and he had gained great, significant momentum. But I haven't heard, or at least I don't remember hearing, what that has been like since, and if we're doing well with collecting monies that are owed from our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Paul Lovelace, 4140 Jeffrey Drive.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Paul Lovelace. I live at 4140 Jeffrey Drive. Excuse me. I'm here to rise in opposition of the lithium-ion battery facility proposed at 0 Welcome All Road. Now, what you have effectively may do, and I hope not, you have given Next Era a loaded revolver, one shell in it, and they're holding it to the temples of the seniors and the children that live in that 220-unit apartment down there off of Welcome All Road. What you are doing is letting them pull the trigger while the council hopes that it don't fire. The problem is, what if it does fire? Like one gentleman said, where do we go? We got garbage transfer facilities down there. We got trains that block access to 29. We got 18-wheelers down there. I'm a senior. I've lived in my home over 40 years. Hopefully I could die there. But I don't want to die because of no explosions or fires. It has been well documented, even in Commissioner Sandra Kennedy in Arizona, excuse me, COPD. Sandra Kennedy, in a report to the Arizona fires in 2019, that a 2-megawatt battery facility is equivalent to 1.72 tons of TNT. Now, that can level stuff for miles. It freaks me out to think that you guys would take our lives for just a little $1.6 million. I'm gonna tell you something. We are your parents, we're your grandparents, and sooner or later, we gonna be you. That's what you're gonna have to remember. When these folks put this battery crap down there, they're going back to Florida. These jobs are temporary, they're construction. Ain't nothing that's gonna happen. They can promise y'all this stuff, and you may or may not get it. And from what I understand, you get it in increments. What kind of deal is that? This is a question. And forgive me, I get upset about this because I lived it. Is there not a fiduciary responsibility for the citizens and not the corporations? That's what I need to understand. It just befuddles me that this keeps coming up. We defeated this, or you defeated that in 21, and again in 23, and here it is back up again. What in the world is going on? What is it that you don't get? Are you so desperate for money? Don't you get funds from other places like the airport?
Thank you, sir.
I would like for him to continue.
Okay,
Please continue.
If you want to make a motion
I'd like to make a motion.
for him to continue? All right.
to continue.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Carr. Any discussion?
Do I need
Hearing none. Give me 1 second, Mr. Lovelace. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Go right ahead, Mr. Lovelace.
Okay. This is really a serious matter. The fires, your fire chief talked about this years ago. In Arizona, they couldn't put the fires out. They had to use tons of cement to extinguish the fire. There's an agent called Purple K. The fire department knows about that. The fire chief in Arizona said that the fire laughed at that Purple K. They can't handle that. That's in an explosion, I mentioned that about the 1.72 tons of TNT. In addition to that, the CDC has said lithium battery fires give off fumes of dangerous levels of hydrofluoride. Dangerous levels. And then these things are dangerous not only to seniors, but to children. So I'm asking you, whatever they offering y'all, don't be suckers, man. Don't do that. You consider us, please. Consider us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston.
Next is Johnny Williams, 2241 Lyle Road, to discuss homestead.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Evening.
I'm Johnny Williams, 2241 Lyle Road. I'm here about the homestead exemption. I brought you 2 copies. It's a process. I got from College Park. It's wrong.
Ms. Williams, can you get a little bit closer to the microphone? I'm sorry. Thank you.
The one I got from College Park is wrong. The amount of money is wrong. I have the one from the news media and other sources. And anyway, they should not mail those to us. When you do homestead exemption, you go in, and they can verify everything in front of you. You just don't mail them out and mail it back to them. No. You have to have someone, whoever's running the department, needs to fill those forms out. So I've given you a copy. You can look at those. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next is Karen Jeremy, 3484 Herschel Road.
Good evening. My name is Karen Jeremy, and I live at 3484 Herschel Road, and I wanted to talk to you about the Brady Trail. The Brady Trail begins on Herschel Road, and it is poorly maintained. You've invested a lot of money. I only moved here in 2020, but I noticed that in 2018 there was a huge improvement done. All of the improvements that have been done to the Brady Trail on Herschel Road were for naught. The trail is gone. It's overgrown. You can't even see the bike lane or the golf cart lane or whatever that lane is that was there and there is a snake pit back there. A lot of my neighbors were walking. I had a neighbor who actually walked and saw a huge snake when he was walking with his dog. So we've all been deterred from using that. It was a very attractive thing for me when I moved here, to actually be able to walk the trail. But now I'm prohibited from doing that because the trail has been so poorly maintained. I ask you, I plead with you, to please clean up the trail so that the residents that live on Herschel Road can actually enjoy the trail that is Brady Trail. It's a beautiful, beautiful asset, and I hope that College Park really understands that and allows us to have enjoyment of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Next, moving on to my email comment, I only have one. And it reads, my name is Charles Jefferson. I reside in Ward 4, College Park. I went out to the park yesterday to engage with the citizens and to check on the appearance of the park, and I noticed 3 issues. Number 1, the need for more trash cans near the basketball courts and near the pavilions, preferably the green trash cans that the children painted near the splash pad. They're deep and can hold more trash. Number 2, the citizen complained to me about trash cans being full on Saturday mornings and they don't have anywhere to put trash. Some of them bring their own trash bags and pile them under overfilled trash cans. This brings in unwanted things such as rodents, homeless people, crime, and it gives an ugly appearance to the entrance to our community. I suggest that the trash be picked up from the park on Mondays and Fridays. This will alleviate the problems of trash all over the park. Number 3, the community also complained about police presence. Yesterday, there was some young people arguing and they started shooting inside the park during the most crowded time before I arrived. I noticed College Park Police Department was on the scene closing down the park. I think increased police patrols around the park would help because I'm noticing more people are using our park and some of them are not from College Park. I know this because I conversation with patrons of the park. I just wanted to make you aware of what's going on in our community. Below are some photos of what I saw yesterday. Charles Jefferson, Chair of Keep College Park Beautiful. Those are all my comments.
Ms. Ames, how much time is remaining?
About 3 minutes.
All right, we've got 3 minutes left if anyone else wishes to come up and speak. Oh.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Pat Zachary. I live on Rugby Avenue. I'd like to take a minute to talk about the Planning Commission. In the meeting on Thursday, Councilman Carm and Councilwoman McKenzie talked about we are the experts. And I'm here to tell you I'm going on my 4th year as a planning commissioner, and I can tell you that we are not the experts. We are citizens that have volunteered our time in hopes of getting the knowledge and experience of shaping what we call and love College Park. We have 2 new members on the commission. Councilwoman McKenzie, your appointee, and there is a vacancy that may be filled for Councilwoman Arnold, hopefully soon. But all of us on the Planning Commission have not received any training. We got an email from the planner. Her name is Deborah Rozoff Ezra on the 19th of March that says, "Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for reaching out to inquire about an upcoming meeting date. I was going to send out an email about the meeting today, but I didn't get around to it. We do not have any items on the agenda for this month. I requested funding to be able to enroll you all in the UGA Carl Vinson Institute Appointed Officials 101 training course, but there are no available funds until the new fiscal year." We were disappointed to learn that. However, I also noticed that there's an item I on the agenda for Kimmy Construction, a non-budgeted item from Dr. Adediran, which I hope that you will take the time to explain that a little bit more in your report today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's the expiration of time.
The next item on the agenda is board appointment, Ward 3 Planning Commission.
Councilmember Arnold?
Yes, I would like to appoint Mr. Chase Rumley as the Ward 3 appointee to the Planning Commission.
Is there a motion?
Second. You made the
Yes,
motion, right?
I'm
So
making
I'm
a motion.
seconding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of an action on a request from the Paint and Sit ATL to host a Springing Forward Community Festival on April 27, 2024, from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Charles E. Phillips Park. This is a request from the city clerk. This will be held in Ward 4.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion?
I had a couple of questions.
Councilmember Arnold, go right ahead.
So, do we not get to see the insurance document that's submitted?
We require it once it's approved. We don't require it because it might be not approved, so we don't require it up front.
In the statement where they're requesting the permission to have a stage, are they asking us for a stage, or are they just asking to use one in the park?
They're just asking to use one in the park.
Okay.
They do know there's a fee associated with that.
Okay, those were my questions.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that is unanimous.
Quick question. Is there a flyer for this or something that we could get out into the community, or is the outfit here?
Yes, they should be here. Come on. But no, we haven't received a flyer.
Hold on a second, hold on. Sir, could you state your name?
Elijah Wade.
Mr. Wade, good evening.
All right.
Councilmember Carn, go right ahead.
Well, I was just curious in terms of if you had some kind of a community flyer you could get to the city clerk. And,
I can create a flyer. I haven't created one yet. I was waiting on approval for the permit, so I can continue voting in such way.
All right, well, I guess we want to get word out in the community that it's going on. This is open to residents, right?
Absolutely, completely free to the community, family-friendly event that provides free art supplies, so families can come out and paint for free, just as a way to promote the importance of the arts for ourselves, and also the connection of the mind, body, and soul through activities like yoga and breath work that will also be included for free.
Okay, it sounds great. You also want to maybe give city manager, public information officer, that way, if it's, all right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item is consideration of an action on a request for the implementation of fee waiver for recreation and cultural arts for youth of College Park residents with verified income of $50,000 or less to participate in city programming only for free. This will service all wards.
Is there a motion?
Motion with discussion.
Yep, there's always discussion. Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Go right ahead, Councilmember Carn.
Great, thank you, Michelle. I looked through the documents here, and were you going to give the presentation
Well, I
first?
have a presentation if you want us to review it so the citizens can also
Absolutely.
take a look
Yeah.
at what my recommendation is and why some of the reasoning for that. So the fee waiver for youth is what we're looking at for qualified citizens that are residents that make less than $50,000, which was, next slide. So here's just the overview of the presentation. We've got mayor and council actions, types of programming offered versus city versus contractual, cost analysis, and then the recommendation, and then implementation for the fee waiver. Next slide. So on January 16th, we were approved to a policy to implement free recreation programming for all College Park residents in the household income of making $50,000 or less, and to implement it aggressively and immediately. So I wanted to kind of overview the type of programming that we offer. So we've got city programming, which is programming that is provided by the city that we budget for on a yearly basis. And that city program is supported, solely by the recreation staff that we provide that information out there, and they register through us. And some of those programs are basketball, gymnastics, flag football, cheerleading, and track. Cost to the city of the registration would not cover any additional costs that they would need. This would just be registration for the participation in the programming. Contractual programming is done on a 75-25 split, and we have several programs. One of the largest that we have on contractual is Kids Gym USA, our preschool gymnastics program. So we've got a city-run gymnastics program, and we've got a contractual program. So all the funding for that program comes through the city, and we pay out 75% to those contractors, and we keep 25% for administrative costs or for overhead for those. So those are the difference between the two types of programming. I know when we talked about, y'all issued the implementation, there wasn't a discussion about what we wanted to do for that free programming. We were looking for city programming and or contractual, so went back and looked at the analysis based on the information that was asked from me. And so our total revenue for last year, the next slide, was $909,000 for recreation. And that's a huge increase from coming out of COVID. So we're bringing increased people into the programming and increasing programming. The number of participants currently in the program was 5860 participants through the fiscal year of 2023. Of that amount was 617 were city residents. When they register with us, they put in their address, which we can check and verify and run, and also can check and verify by programming who was a city resident in our programming. This is not any income verification. This is just people that are residents. And they could be grandchildren of grandparents that are registering. It could be somebody that's not necessarily in here. So there's no verification if they're an actual resident paying water or power to us. The cost for the fee waiver program, so if for city program breakdown, it was about $30,000 based on the information that we pulled for the 2023 numbers. Contractual payout for 75% was about $26,000. And then the cost for both was about $54,000. So if we looked at implementing just the city, it's around $30,000. If we looked at doing just contractual, which would be $27,000, and the total cost was $54,000. Again, this is all just an estimate based on the numbers that we had. The loss of revenue, this want to just include if we did do free programming, we'd have a loss of revenue close to $30,000 for the city. Contractual, about $8,800, and the total was $39,000. So the next slide. So with the recommendation based on programming, this is not just for, we're looking at just doing the city programming. For contractual, it would be different. It would be difficult to ask our contractual to hold spots and then have to pay them out not knowing if those people are going to participate. So, implementation can certainly look at both programming, but I would, I'm thinking we're going to have an increase. That's what we want, is residents participating. I think with a good start, we would start with our city programming. So we're looking at $30,000. Implementation from May 1st, if this is approved. Provide a cap for each programming to be decided per programming, and that would be different depending on teams. You want to make sure, because a lot of teams may bring their whole teams from somewhere to register, so we want to make sure we can provide a team basis for those kids. Attendance, we would ensure attendance. We make sure we take rolls for those that are participating to know that they are coming to the free programming. And then recommendation for approval, giving it a 30-day process. We certainly want everybody to fill out the information, verify that they are, and get them in as quickly as possible. But once we have them verified, we can give them a code that it would make it easier to register for the coming registrations to get in. So we're recommending a $15 yearly registration fee. And so out of the 5860 number of participants for 2023, taking away the 617 residents, we would be looking at 5243 at $15,000, and it would generate about $78,000 to help cover the free programming for the cost for them. Next slide. So then we were looking at an application form, and this is similar to what we do with the pavilion rentals. They have to provide a driver's license. The driver's license must match their utility bill to prove that they're a resident, and then a copy of their tax returns, which from my understanding was speaking with finance, that it's very simple, that they're doing that with a senior tax credit to pull that offline and provide that as verification. And then that they would need to reapply each year to make sure that they have not moved from that, their residence. And then we would approve that and meet requirements before the registration time to implement that then in the free programming. And then I did go through just that total, what I just broke down, which what they would need to do to provide proof of residency. So, are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Questions? Councilmember McKenzie?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me, I guess, is just looking at, I would think that my concern is the contractual. I understand the whole piece, but, there are some programs that I think would be advantageous to our youth that are contractual, and I just still want to kind of see if there's some way we can, and I hear what you're saying in terms of having them put out these different, leave out these slots, and what if they're not filled? So, but I still wish that there was some way that we could get our young people, have them to have the opportunity for those sports, those programs. So that's the only thing, that's where I'm on the fence with this, but otherwise, I think that you put together, thank you again, because this was a big undertaking, and, just appreciate you getting this to us. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure, thank you.
Councilmember Carter?
All right, thank you, Michelle. Great presentation. This was something that I pushed for, and I thought it was long overdue in the city of College Park. I believe that every kid in this community that wants to participate in parks and recreation should have the opportunity, and income should not be a barrier. So I'm glad that we're here. This is a great presentation. I've got a few concerns and tweaks here that I'd like to see adjusted to make this a little more workable, in my opinion. Let's see here. All right, I guess we'll go to packet page 106 here. Essentially, my understanding, you're recommending for us to waive the fees only for the city programming and not the contractual. In my head, I'd like to see fees waived for all of the sports and the opportunities. Some of the contractual are some of the most popular sports that the kids actually want to play. And if they're not free, we kind of, I guess, defeat the purpose, so to speak. So I would like to see that, and I understand the total revenue loss we're talking about is about $40,000, $39,000.
Well, plus the loss of revenue too. So we would, anything that, we've got revenue on that side too. We get 25% on that revenue.
Is this 39,000 to 25%, or is this another number? What is this? The 39,000, is that the 25% from contractual?
Correct.
And the 100% from city?
So with the loss of revenue for the contractual was about less than $10,000, but that was just for that 1 year. Now, if we have an increase, it would be more loss.
Okay, I'm completely lost here.
Okay.
The 39,268 number, is that for waiving the fee for the city
And the loss.
And the what?
And the loss of our 25%.
And the loss of 25%.
Correct.
Now,
So then you would look at our city fees that we would lose plus
got
the
it.
loss of the revenue from the 100% from the city plus the 25% and the payout.
Understood. Now, the 65,879, that's if it's free totally. Is that right? Both?
Correct.
Both
Based on
programs.
these numbers that we pulled
Based
this
on the
year.
numbers we have.
Correct. That's why the
Understood.
implementation of the 15 would cover either or, whether we choose the city or the contractual both.
Well, I would like us to choose both, obviously. I want
Okay.
the options open for all of our children to participate in all of the sports, the programming. The more popular ones are the contracted ones, so we don't want them to miss out on those as well. So in terms of this cost of $65,000, now doing my math here, we bring in $909,000 a year, they're about $65,000, that's 7% of a loss here that we're talking about. So I don't think that's gonna, put us in the poorhouse in terms of doing damage here. But the idea is to make sure our local children, our local kids, have the opportunity to participate in these programs. Again, all of the kids that participate that don't live in the city, well, it's great for them. But my obligation are to the residents of this community first and foremost. If we have some extra room, then the out-of-town kids are more than welcome. But I want to take care of our kids first. And this $65,000 is 7% of what we bring in. I don't see a problem with that. I want us to go full tilt with this and make sure the doors are wide open for our children first. Looking at the numbers of participants right now, you've got about 6,000 participants total. Out of that 6,000, you've got about 600 that are local residents. In other words, 90% of our program are for kids out of town. And again, that's great for the kids out of town. Only 10% of our kids get to participate. Now, ultimately, I want to see a goal of us reversing those numbers. What I'd like to see in the future is 90% of our children participating in our programs in our city, and 10% or 15%, the kids that want to come in and participate, that's great, come on in. But I want to cover our children first. One of the reasons I think we haven't been able to cover our children first is because communication, education, and awareness. Education and awareness. You know, Parks and Rec and sport is not just about sports and health. It's about keeping these kids out of trouble. It's about after-school daycare and after-school care and giving them something to do. There are a lot of temptations out here on these streets, and I'm talking about any city, in any state. And I think we want to do our utmost to make sure we cover all of our children first. And a 7% loss is not a sacrifice at all in terms of what I see. So I want to go for the full deal. And keep in mind, you know, this only works if communications are covering our residents properly with the message that it's available. What's out here? You know, with 75% rental in College Park, I say that a lot, but I want people to be aware of that. So we have a turnstile operation going a lot of the time, so there are new people coming in every month. We're steadily working to make improvements in these apartment communities and upping the standards. Free parks and recreation is part of upping the standards. So this is a part of that component. Again, parks and recreation, I always say, you know, yes, it's health and fitness, but it's also public safety. And public works, Dr. Emanuel, that's part of public safety too. Public safety is not just police and fire. It includes parks and recreations, and public safety includes good communications, solid communications, so that you cover these residents in the method that they get their communications, whatever that is. So it's public safety. Parks and Rec is public safety as well. That's why it's so important, and that 7% is insignificant as far as I'm concerned. It's well worth the stretch, because at the end of the day, one of the big reasons I'm supporting putting budget into Parks and Rec is to lessen the chance of all heck breaking loose out here in this community. So it's part of public safety too, and it's very important that we keep the doors as wide open as possible and making sure all the programming is available and whatever new programming we want to put together. I got a list from parents that talked about some new programming, and I had never thought about that programming. And the good part about some of the suggestions that I got from these parents in these communities, on these blocks, some of that type of programming that they want to see is less costly than some of the programming that we got now. So yeah, I want to go full tilt with this thing. Last thing I got here, packet page 108. And this is important stuff. I mean, this is a great game changer for this city. We want to better the standards. These are the type of things we got to work on and do. Packet page 108, let's see, number 3 here. Driver's license address within the city limits. Okay, now, a couple of issues with that. I've been around a while. And in particularly in our apartment community, which again, this city is 75% of, a lot of folks never changed their driver's license address from where they moved from. And it is as commonplace as upwards of 30, 40, 50% in some of these apartments where they don't have a driver's license that's current in College Park. And a lot of people, it's hard for them to do that. Sometimes they can't do it. Sometimes they want to do it. So we're aiming this at folks that can't afford things. These are our residents, $50,000 and under. A lot of people don't understand the concept of folks not being able to get ID. That is a concept that's foreign to people. But let me tell y'all something. There are hundreds of people that, for whatever reason, have a strong difficulty with getting their hands on ID. You know, we've got a lot of our community that's doing well, but some don't get ID. So a driver's license within the city limits is something that would be a barrier to some folks being able to have their kids participate. So instead of a driver's license with a city limit, we could verify with the leasing office where they live, and they're on the list. Yes, they live here, they're on the lease. I think that's a pretty solid way of knowing that we got somebody that lives in the city. The utility bill, that's a good way as well. However, what if the utility bill isn't in that person's name, but they live on the property. See, there are different circumstances on some of these properties.
So we deal with that a lot with the pavilion rentals. And these are the requirements that we have for the pavilion rentals.
Understood.
So there's just the guideline that was provided.
I
with
follow
that.
you loud and clear.
Yeah.
And the pavilion rental makes sense because those are out-of-towners.
No, only residents can reserve a pavilion rental.
Understood. Well, we get a lot of out-of-towners that come in and somehow they manage to get pavilions, but that's a whole nother talk for another day. A copy of the lease, maybe, I understand that. But I think in addition to that, if their name is not on the lease, which a lot of folks don't have their names on the lease, and some families don't put all of their children on the lease for whatever reason. So maybe verification with the leasing office, that would be a good one. Tax returns, I think, are good. I think, now there's some people, there's an IRS threshold at a certain income amount that you don't have to file taxes. We're talking about some of our low-income residents, so we got to keep in mind that threshold exists, and some people do not file taxes. Now, we could also ask for W-2, paycheck stub, or something like that, maybe if they don't file taxes, because there are some people that don't file taxes because they don't reach that financial limit where they have to file taxes. I know at one point it used to be like $8,000 or something like that annually. I don't know what it is now, but let's look at that. Last thing I'll say, and I'm sorry if I'm a little long-winded, but this is very important to me. People trickle in and out of our rental community all the time. It's an operation. I can turn around 2 months from now and I got new residents coming in, I got new residents coming out. So I like everything else that we're doing, but again, I want to go for the full amount, the $65,000, which is 7% of what we bring in every year, and I want to work towards reversing those numbers. By this fall, I'd love to see it 50-50, where the numbers are turning the other direction. I don't expect it to turn overnight, but I want us to push this very hard to make progress. So let's get the communications out if we're going to do this, and let's make sure folks know what's available and ask them if they don't want to participate in what's available, again, what would they like to see that they would put their children in, that they think their children need as well. So we want to hear some of the programming needs from their point of view, from their concerns for what they think is best for their children to keep them out of trouble. So that's all I got.
Councilmember Arnold.
I have a question for the recommendations on page packet 107. The last item that has the number of participants times the $15. Is that generating income? Of course, it
So it'd be
reduces, the number is reduced by the 617 College Park residents, right?
Correct.
Is that to help to
cover
fill
the
in that
cost.
gap?
Yes, correct.
Right, okay.
Correct. So it would be a one-time per year, per family, $15 for those that are not the 617, the residents.
Okay.
So just help generating to help cover the cost for those people participating for free. Since we're going to lose, if we do the contractual, we'll have a loss of revenue. So just to help cover the cost.
All right, so
Those that are not residents.
okay, and I like that. Okay, so basically, if we were to go with Councilman Carnes' proposal, then that means that we really will make ourselves whole.
Correct.
Right.
Which was my goal was to not put more on the residents to provide free programming for residents.
Okay.
So that was the task that I was trying to help do.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilmember Gay.
No questions.
I have a comment.
Councilmember McKenzie.
Okay, just was thinking about this after I said this to you. Is there a way, and I wrote this down, is there a way, okay, in terms of going back to the contractual services, is there a way that we could, those slots that you were talking about, is there a way that we can make the slots available for our residents, but they would have a time where, you have to apply by a certain deadline.
Correct.
And then if the deadline is not, met, then you open it up to other people.
Yes.
So
That's the
that's what
discussion. Yeah, that's
okay, so
exactly
that,
what we were trying to figure out, what's the direction y'all want us to go in. Wanted to provide what we're looking at, the cost, and then absolutely we can. We would have to have a deadline so that we would, we want to make sure the contractual are making what they're making, but we don't want to make them whole by not filling those spots. If
Right,
there's
right.
one of our residents.
Yeah. So my thought, I guess, if we just plan in enough time to have a certain deadline for persons who are applying for the free slots,
Yes.
and then if that's not met, open it up, because I really want to be able to see our young people participate in all of the programs that we offer through
Yes.
recreation, and not necessarily to keep them from that. So,
Yes,
so
so-
that would be my suggestion
Yeah,
too.
and the problem also with just the contractual is it's not our staff checking
Right.
rosters.
Right.
Making sure those people that are giving, we're providing that programming
Gotcha.
to, that they are coming. So,
Okay.
we're going to have to work on those partnerships and make sure that they're providing, if somebody is not coming, that they're, taking advantage of what we're providing for.
Yeah. My hope is that by next year, when we sit here, we don't have only 10% of the recreation participants coming from our city, but at least that we're at 30 to 40%. And I know Councilman Carn is saying 90%. That's a tall order.
Passionate about
But we really want to see the difference. To have all of these amenities and programs in our city, and our young people can't even participate. And it may encourage other persons who are not even in the $50,000 threshold to get involved. I just would like to see more of our College Park youth involved in our College Park programs. And that's it.
I have one more thing.
Councilmember Carr?
On page 108, the application you just talked about, that must be approved and meet requirements before registration time period for programming. Now, I understand that. You want to get them all in when the classes start or when the practices start or whatever have you. I understand that. Again, we have to cater to the socioeconomic dynamics that we have. People trickle into our apartment communities all of the time. So we want to leave some slots open, or the next open slot. Okay, let's say basketball starts May 1st. I don't know when it starts. Let's say it starts May 1st. Basketball starts May 1st. Okay, you get 75 kids that want to play basketball. May 1st starts, you got 75 kids starting basketball. Now, June 15th, 20 more kids move into the community. And hey, well, they want to play basketball too, but they missed the deadline because they weren't living here then. So I want us to make sure we're fluid enough and flexible enough. Now, if it's full, it's absolutely full. I understand that.
Well, part of it is
But
deadlines for uniforms.
I'm sorry, I must have interrupted you. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Councilman Carr,
No,
go
it's
ahead.
okay.
I was passionate, just like you. I'm
No,
sorry.
ladies first.
I was just going to say, some of those deadlines that we need in order to order uniforms and size them to do that. So there are going to be some deadlines that we cannot accommodate them in programming.
I understand.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait until the next sign up.
Well, I understand. And uniforms are important, and all of that is important, and being in proper order. But what's more important are getting our kids into these programs, uniform or not. If you got some shorts and some sneakers, and I want my kid in these programs, and I want them off the streets and out of trouble, if you ain't got a uniform, and this is just me, speaking for myself.
I know, but you're not a young child without a uniform.
I'll let you finish. I'm sorry, again.
No, but they want to feel like they're whole and participating in the program too. So,
Well,
I mean,
we'll get them uniforms. And if we have to put that in the budget, we'll do that too. It's that important.
Yes.
We put our children first. Now, the other children that come to 90%, they can afford uniforms. And wherever they're coming from, they can probably afford it. And they have a stable home where they can come in on time. But I've got hundreds of parents and families that move in and out of College Park month after month. So again, I want us to adjust to our dynamics and not be so rigid. The date starts here, you get your uniform. If you're not there May 1st, you can't participate. No. We want to be flexible enough where that next open slot, if it's full, you put them in there if they want to participate. We don't want to turn anybody away. So let's just be a little flexible on this thing. I want you to, I know it's your department and you got to stay organized, but I want to make sure we don't leave any kids out that want to play, that could have been playing instead of out there getting in trouble. So just keep that in mind. And we do a contract with these partners, yes. The $65,000 covers the partners and our program. That's 7%. We need to require that they verify those residents in the same manner. If you're a city resident, and you're getting the free, whereas your out-of-towners are paying the contractors. We need to verify those kids that are coming in from the city.
Yeah, the registration goes through us, so it would be
same
verified by us.
Okay, all right, now we're talking, all right. I don't want to leave anybody behind.
I understand.
Hearing no other discussion, or Councilmember Arnold, sorry.
I just have one suggestion. Can we make sure that we keep good records and collect data and consider, maybe we can consider in the future extending this same waiver, if you will, to our senior citizens? Yeah, that's the only suggestion that I have.
Is that what, I mean, that's the direction of the body, yeah?
Well, I guess after we collect the information, the data, just to see how, whether or not if it's working, that we consider extending it to the senior citizens as well.
Some of the senior program is free.
Okay.
So, there's, maybe the weight room, there's not
Right.
a lot of programming that's charged for the seniors. So that's certainly something we can address.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk,
Yes.
motion was made by
Councilman Carn and Councilwoman Arnold second.
I'd like to modify that motion a bit. My modification, I guess it's an amended motion here. So I do want to approve the programming, free city programming, as well as the free contractual programming. And I know the estimated amount of the $65,000, which is 7% of what the revenues we bring in. That may be, adjusted and moved here or there or whatever, but that's where we're at now. And let's start there. And again, we need robust communication to our residents so that they know this programming is available. And I want us to be open to other programming that would appeal to bringing them in the door. So I modify my motion.
So for clarity, Councilman Carn, you want to approve the program with free city programming and free contractual programming?
At the 65, the 7% amount here, 65,879, that's the estimated cost.
And does the second still hold?
Can you read the motion again, please?
To approve the program with free city programming and free contractual programming.
And the amount, make sure I'm up to
Can we have that cap on
so
that?
that there's no misunderstanding.
Estimated amount at approximately $65,000. Does that work?
879, what the number that Michelle has on here, that'll be fine.
Michelle, what's the number, please?
Hang on a second, sweetie. For both of the programming, where is it? I think it was in the...
Packet page 99 there, at the bottom.
65,879.60.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Arnold, thank you.
The motion is to approve free city programming and free contractual programming at the estimated cost of $65,879.60.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard all four of you. Thank you. That is unanimous.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of an action on a request to approve to pay proof of the pudding $18,700 for the Black History Program.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Any discussion? Councilmember Arnold?
Yes. The agenda says $18,700. The backup says $18,750.
You're correct, Councilman Arnold. Yes, correct, sorry.
Is it?
It's $18,750 by the invoice. My apologies. And I was unclear if this had been approved, so I just wanted to make sure to follow up because it was added additional funding to it, but anything over 10 has to be approved.
Okay.
So my apologies for the delay.
Okay, so the motion should be for $18,750. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That is unanimous.
Thank you.
The next item is consideration of an action on a request to approve the annual invoice for block safety in the amount of $72,000.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember McKenzie?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this out because it was said publicly last meeting, and I spoke to Chief Rogers this morning about it and just wanted to clear the air. Last meeting, we did have some citizens that were complaining that they were told when they had incidents at their homes that the flock cameras, our tag readers were not working. And so I had concerns because if we had tag readers that were not working, why would we renew a contract for $72,000 with a company that's not, doing what they're supposed to do?
We have 27 units in the city in all operation. The information that was given out at the last meeting, we found an internal issue that I have addressed, and it won't happen again.
Okay, and that was I just wanted that to clear that air, that our cameras are working. So that's all. I just wanted to bring that out.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That is unanimous.
Next is consideration of an action on a request to approve Central Square 2024 annual renewal contract in the amount of $132,354.32.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Carney. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a...
I just had a quick question. What is
Arnold?
Central Square?
Central Square, it handles all of our record management system. It covers everything as far as how the officers, our CAD, how they input incident reports and accidents.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That is unanimous.
Next is consideration of an action on a request to place 4 stop signs at the intersection of Herschel Road and Lakeshore Drive.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Carney. Any discussion?
Question.
Councilmember Arnold?
Is the labor also?
Everything would be done through the city.
Okay, so there's no additional
no
labor?
additional
Okay.
cost.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Next is consideration of an action on a request to purchase the equipment and tools for the new ladder truck currently being manufactured at an approximate cost of $31,626.68.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Carney. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That is unanimous.
Next is consideration of an action on a request to designate city streets for resurfacing under the GDOT Local Road Administration funds in the amended fiscal year 2024 budget.
Is there a motion?
Motion with discussion.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Councilmember Gay?
I have a question. I'm a little confused, so bear with me. Do we have streets already scheduled to be paved from an earlier
Yes.
allocation?
Yes, they coming up. That was the street for the LMIG. This is right here is for the new request that came from the governor and legislator that approved $218,000 with no match.
So all these streets can't get paved at that amount, right?
No,
So how
one I submitted, the one that you have in your package, they like 2/10 of a mile, 1/10 of a mile. So I'm hoping that to try to get them all paid with that 218.
Got it. And since we have you, when will the selection start to pay the previous streets?
Say that again, Councilman.
When y'all gonna start paving the other streets early that we approved?
We're trying to, hoping I can be able to get those out after our budget meeting. Because the funds that cover that LMIG is in this year's budget.
And my last question is, are we allowed to change our streets?
Yes, you can change the streets anytime.
Because I had promised
residents on Williamsburg that they would be, Williamsburg Drive, they would be next.
Just be on the, you all be aware of when you, the length of your streets.
Right.
Asphalt, paving, milling, it's going up. And if you got like 5/10, if council wanna have the street 1/10 of a mile, Horn got a 1 or 2/10 of a mile, McKenzie got maybe 2/10, and your street is 5/10, it go over that amount, I'm sorry, but it's gonna have to come off unless we come up with some kind of funds to cover it. So that's why I try to keep it down to a minimum to make sure all ward gets something.
I'm changing mine to Williamsburg Drive.
So you want to take Alexander off from Skyline to Lakeshore to what now?
I want to add Williamsburg from Skyline to, what is it, Arlene?
From Skyline to who?
From Skyline to Arlene. What's the street behind Fredericksburg?
To Arlene, I look at it.
Yeah. And make a note, sir, that if it takes us over what you expected, then the alternative street will be Winthrop Drive, and that'll be from one end to the other. That should fit. That should be
I
a
got
good.
you. Just keep in mind, I got your Winthrop and Winthrop.
Let Winthrop be a backup if Williamsburg take us over.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Any additional discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember McKenzie?
Yes, the street that I have here, Parkview Drive, one of the concerns I have with that street is that we've had roots coming up. That's what's kind of caused the break. So is we going to be able to remove those trees or those roots?
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
so that's a part of the because that's really what's caused the.
Yeah, when they do that milling.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll take out that the root system.
Okay, so the removal of the roots is included in the cost for the. Okay, that's okay.
You may need to consider removing that tree, depending on how close it is.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking.
Because we found out a lot of times when we were going there one time before and dug it out, it wasn't no root. It's the way the street was made when it's first built.
Okay.
It's got old, heavy-duty rocks that don't penetrate up.
Okay.
And that's basically what it is. Usually, it's not roots. It's just that old rock or that old base from that old road.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Councilmember Gay, did you want to amend your motion?
To add Williamsburg Drive and Winthrop Drive as an alternate,
And remove Alexandria Way?
and remove Alexandria Way.
All right. Okay, does the second still hold?
It was Councilwoman McKenzie.
Joe gave it.
Oh, second, I'm still on.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
All right.
Next is consideration to approve Kimmy Construction Company proposal for the sanitary sewer main installation on State Route Georgia 314, West Fayetteville Road, Phoenix Boulevard at approximately $420,850.
Motion with discussion.
Thank you, Councilmember Gay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Carn. Councilmember Gay, go ahead.
All right, gentlemen, I got a couple questions, so let's get through this. The memorandum is dated December the 23rd. Package page 183. But the invoice is dated March of 2024. My question is, aren't there earlier invoices that we've already approved for this work? And why are the new invoices taking into account any cost overruns plus the old invoice? Why aren't you giving us invoices for what you're telling us is overrun?
I think you're speaking of quotes as opposed to invoices.
Well, this is what you want us to consider tonight. These amounts is based on what you included in the packet.
None of this work has been performed, so these would be quotes or proposals.
Yes, sir, but you want us to vote based on the quotes?
Yes, the difference in the quote that was initially given and the quote that has an increase was due to the requirements of GDOT.
And I don't have a problem with that because I know the history. What I'm trying to understand is why aren't you providing us just 2 estimates for the cost overrun? You've gotten it for $1,210,000, which includes, and then $1,120,000.
Councilman, the first quote that was quoted was $700,000. And when GDOT reviewed the permit, they said we have to jack and ball, and that's what increased the cost.
I see. So I'm mistaken here. So the original price is approximately $700,000?
Yes, sir.
And the overrun
It's the 400.
Right, an overrun.
From the manhole right there by the new 400 apartment complex coming on board, all the way to Phoenix Boulevard.
And I don't disagree. All I'm saying is, it seems to me that you all would provide us, we've already voted on the original amount.
Yes, sir.
It seemed like you would provide us tonight an invoice for just the new cost, the new overrun.
The 400,000.
The 400,000.
That's what you
This is what he's saying.
Mine don't have it. I mean, so you want us to do the math?
Essentially, that's what they're saying.
You want us to do the math?
The jack and ball.
No, can I?
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay, the estimate is for the full amount, not just for the 700,000 that was budgeted originally.
No, I absolutely get it, but I'm saying as a matter of clarity, and I normally see people just give you, we've already voted on the first set of monies, but tonight, let me see, we've already voted originally on a certain amount of money to the minutes. So tonight, you want us to amend that amount and increase it to 120, or you want us to give you another 1,210,000? Because that's how the invoice reads.
It's no invoice, sir. It's a quote.
That's how the
Councilmember Gay, let me direct your attention to the actual agenda item, because the amount that they're asking for approval for is $420,850. Because we've already approved the $700,000 in January.
I get it. But for me, not them, for me, I want to see an invoice for the difference. If you tell somebody to paint your house, they tell you they're going to charge you $300. And then they come back and say, hey, I got to charge you a few more hundred because I just want to see the difference. Because what you got on the agenda item does not match the invoices.
Councilmember Carr?
If I understand what you're saying, he wants to see, send the councilman the separate invoice of the 420K.
But these are.
I know it's connected. I get that, but we did the 700,000. I know it wasn't in December. It was in January because we had that meeting.
I'm talking about, let's look at another.
Hold on. Please let him finish.
Just a suggestion. We get that exact separate invoice of the additional amount. Now, Althea, one thing I want to just get cleared up so we kind of understand this whole thing. So, we know we had the collapsed sewer, right? We put out. I want to just make sure everyone follows so we know what's going on.
Man, I wasn't through talking. They just answered my question.
Okay. Well, I want to get a full understanding. So we had the collapsed sewer. We took a look at it. We put the bids out. They came in, the bids, and the lowest bid was the 700,000, right? Yes, got it. Now, GDOT came back and looked at this project for approval, which is on a state route, West Fayetteville Road. GDOT said, not Kimmy Construction, not the City of College Park. GDOT said there's additional repair that has to be made, which ended up, that's the additional 420 that we're looking at. Now, Althea, all of this money is most tax funds, is that right?
Correct.
And I want to make that clear for the residents. That most tax fund, that's a special restricted fund. That money cannot be used for general fund expenditures or anything else but water and sewer. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. So we're spending money specifically for that. It can't be spent anywhere else. So this is precisely what it's for. So the addition came from GDOT, not from Kimmy and not from us. They said we have to do this. Okay.
The process, they want the jack and ball.
Okay.
Not just saying opening up and the side of the road, affecting the traffic. Jack and ball is a total different process.
All right, hold on one second. Councilmember Gay wasn't finished,
was
and so
not finished.
I want to come back and let him finish.
And respectfully, I want to get finished before anyone, write it down and then you answer. Now listen. If you have a cost overrun, I expect that cost overrun to be brought to us for approval.
That's what we're doing now, Councilman.
I get it, but the way I would like to see it is not an estimate for the total project, because here's what I didn't get to say. The descriptions on both invoices is the entire job. The description don't say anything that a normal person out there would know why you need $450,000 more. It just says, it's just a paragraph. And my thing is, we on the news every week for $1 million, but tonight we just gonna approve $1,210,000 with a paragraph. My point is, as Councilman Cohen said, and you've told me, if GDOT came and charged us with additional work.
GDOT did not charge us anything. GDOT changed the process.
Well, if GDOT changed the process,
yes, sir.
What I expect for you to show is an invoice that reflects the difference between the original scope of work versus the additional scope. They may understand it because they just saying okay, but I'm saying to you, you don't come and bring us an invoice.
That's a quote to complete the work. That's not.
Okay, let me get to the second question. What I'm saying to you, this is what I'm saying.
Okay.
For my vote,
okay,
I'm not gonna vote unless you bring me an estimate that's specific for the change in costs, along with documentation. This is just you telling us this in a few minutes to give y'all $420,000 out of our most tax. So in good faith, I'm gonna say to you, sure. But in good faith, we spending all week with the media trying to explain another set of money. So my point, and I'm making this point for a reason.
Councilman,
Dr. Adediran, I don't think he's finished.
City manager.
Yes.
When I'm city attorney, the bottom line is, not for me, anytime there's a cost overrun, I want to see the estimate for the cost overrun with a description of why is that cost sufficient. I don't want to see the same statement that we approved in almost 6 months ago, because I want them to believe us. Like you want us to take your word for it because we know it's in good faith. But there's nothing here that says anything but just, I want you all to give us $420,000 more. But I got no documentation to tell you why, but Councilman Cohen saying GDOT came and told us we need this.
Councilmember Carn?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Dr. Emanuel, I think that maybe our on-call Kimmy can produce us a separate invoice in the amount, possibly a $420 amount. That way we can just see the additional work, some kind of a way. They could probably manage something along those lines.
That's no problem.
Well, okay.
You can get it tomorrow.
Yeah, because
the longer we prolong this, the 400 apartment.
They can come online.
Let's get that in the morning. I'm sure they'll produce it, since that's how they gonna get paid. So let's make that happen tomorrow.
Okay, no
All right.
Any further discussion?
All they need is a computer and a printer. They should be able to produce that. So.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
With the proviso, bringing in the 420, the separate invoice from Kimmy in the exact amount.
Are we getting, we're getting two different estimates, right? We're going to have the estimate with the 700,000 and the estimate with the $420,850, right?
That shows the cost overall.
Right. That's right.
So, we're getting two estimates. Well, we already have an estimate because we voted on it already.
We had the 700,000 already.
I just want to see an estimate for the cost overrun.
No problem. You get it tomorrow.
Well, ma'am, I'm going to remove my motion.
Okay, he's withdrawn his motion. Does anyone else wish to make a motion?
I make the substitute motion that we approve contingent upon Kimmy Construction, our on-call provider, producing us a separate invoice in the amount of the $420K for the additional work.
No problem.
Is there a second?
Second discussion. If it's okay with you all, I would like to see any document whatsoever that GDOT gave to us via email, correspondent that substantiate this overrun. Anything that GDOT has provided that substantiate.
Yeah, the drawings, we send you the drawings.
No, that's not what.
That's what the drawing was, what they approved, that they want Jack and Bob, not cutting them.
Oh, no, right, but I want to see that conversation. I want to see exactly what GDOT says to cause us to pay Prime Engineer to redraw something that we didn't figure in December that costing us $420,000. I want to see that documentation.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Yeah. I'd rather.
All right, hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Wait until we have the information before we.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Discussion's closed. We're moving to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the motion fails. So Councilmember Carm is in favor. Councilmembers McKenzie, Arnold, and Gay opposed.
Councilmember Arnold said aye. I don't think the motion failed. What did you hear, City Clerk? Because I thought I heard differently. But
Councilman Carr moved to approve the motion contingent upon Kimmy providing separate invoice to show cost overrun. When called for a vote, all those were in favor except for Councilman Gay, Arnold, and McKenzie.
Voted what?
They opposed.
They opposed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have heard. I thought I heard Councilmember Arnold say yes. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Arnold said opposed first, so you probably didn't hear it. She
The
opposed
second
first.
vote that the mayor just did.
Yeah, she opposed it.
That's what happened.
So
we're done.
Okay. All right.
So for clarification, this project is.
Well, I make a second substitute motion, and this is just a suggestion here. If you bring this back to us at the next council meeting with the information, the email from GDOT indicating that there was an additional issue that would require additional costs, as well as the invoice from Kimmy, maybe we can put the wheels back on the wagon here. It's important to have the documentation. It would have been good to have something from GDOT stating what happened. I mean, obviously, that's great. Not that I don't believe you, I believe you. And I'm sure GDOT does this all the time when they're reviewing the state route. So I'm sure it's there. You all don't have any reason to make that up. So I trust you if you can bring that back to us. If we need that letter. How long? Now this was something that happened in December, so we're in April. And if we can get it done as fast as possible, that's great. Now, Councilmember Arnold, it's your district. If you don't want to do it at all, I'm fine with it. But whatever you think, it's your area.
Councilmember Arnold?
Can we table this until we have the information?
That's what I'm asking, table it.
Right, I don't want to do any substitute motions, but table it until we have the information so that we can take an appropriate vote.
The motion's already been made, seconded, and voted upon. The motion failed.
I make a substitute motion to table this item.
I'm sorry, stop. Everyone, please. Madam Clerk.
The substitute motion is to bring the item back by Councilman Carn, made the substitute motion to bring the item back for consideration with documentation from GDOT to support this proposal with the invoice request.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
That's essentially tabling it until the information.
That's not what you said.
Okay, well, I will make a third substitute motion. I'll support the table this item.
I'll support tabling it.
Okay, there's a motion to table. It's already been defeated.
You can't table a motion that's defeated. It's beat. It's dead. So I mean, you can bring it back.
Bring it back.
Just bring it back.
Yeah, like we don't have to. We don't like we're beating a dead horse here.
Okay.
Just bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
All right.
All right.
No problem.
All right. The next item is City Attorney's report.
So there's been conversation as it relates to meetings of a quorum of the city council. And I just felt it was appropriate this evening just to say a word about that. Members of council sometimes are unclear what they can and cannot do. And that unclarity is exacerbated when, citizens see 3 council members sitting at a Waffle House and say, aha, they're meeting illegally, they're eating at Waffle House. And council members sometimes don't know, well, can we go to Waffle House? Or does that constitute an illegal meeting in violation of Georgia Open Meetings Act? Well, first and foremost, let's start with the Open Meetings Act does not prohibit. The Open Meetings Act does not prohibit certain social and civic gatherings of members of city council. Sometimes you are attending a funeral of a fallen colleague, and all 5 of you may be present. Does not constitute an illegal meeting. Sometimes you go to Waffle House. That does not constitute an illegal meeting. The Open Meeting Act sets its face against gatherings of a quorum of a governing body where the goal is to discuss the official business of the city or to take official action. Sometimes you may be traveling. For instance, you're going down to Savannah to go to GMA, or traveling to DC for National League of Cities, and you may drive in a car together or on an airplane together. Those gatherings of a quorum of you does not constitute an illegal meeting in violation of the Open Meetings Act. Only when you gather to discuss the official business of the city of College Park or to take official action, that is what the law sets its face against, and you should be mindful of that. I think that best practice is to avoid the gathering of a quorum whenever you can. Sometimes that's unavoidable, sometimes that's not desirable. So my advice to you is to consult with me whenever you're unclear. But as a general matter, whenever a quorum, a majority of you, a quorum, gather, it is not per se an illegal meeting, but it is when the goal and the purpose is to discuss city business or to take official action.
Thank you, sir.
The next item is City Manager's report.
I have a question still for the attorney on your report.
Councilmember McKenzie?
Yes. So basically, just to get the clarification, if we, for instance, if one of the council members has a community meeting or a town hall, and they invite other council members to attend, and then those council members are on the program to give words, remarks, or whatever it may be, what would be the procedure for something like that?
I would, out of abundance of caution, advertise it as a public meeting. If there's going to be a quorum of the city council present, it would be difficult to argue that a town hall meeting or community meeting where you're specifically discussing the business and affairs of the city of College Park would not trigger the Open Meetings Act. And it's fine to do these things, but you just have to simply advertise it as a public meeting, give the public adequate notice, and then you're fine. Now, sometimes there may be a town hall meeting where members of the city council are present, a quorum is present, but not all members of that quorum are participating in the meeting. Some of you may be sitting in the audience. It might be the Ward 3 meeting, and others of you are just sitting in the audience as ordinary citizens. that would not trigger the Open Meetings Act. So it's on a case-by-case basis, so I cannot say in every case, here's the outcome. I would have to look at all of the prevailing circumstances before I could give an opinion. But as a rule of thumb, I would say it's always best just to advertise the meeting when you have knowledge that a quorum of the governing body is going to be present.
And the reason also is last week we had an information session here and 3 members of council were present. When the information, the media department reached out to see whether or not, I guess they were in communication with the city clerk about whether or not this should be advertised as a public meeting or a community meeting. We had more than 24 hours to be able to announce that to the public. I was informed that via media that they were told by the clerk that it should be a community meeting. So it was advertised as a community meeting, but it was not advertised as a public meeting.
Council, what I would say to you is the Open Meetings Act does not draw a distinction there.
Okay.
Only one thing, a meeting. And a meeting is a gathering of a quorum to discuss the official business of the city. So the law does not draw a distinction between a public meeting or a community meeting. That's not a distinction the law embraces. And so when you know that there's going to be that gathering of a quorum, I would strongly encourage you to advertise the meeting as such. It was not necessarily my intention to talk about that specific gathering, because I don't have all of the facts and I'm not able to render an opinion on whether that was problematic or not. I was just trying to give some overall guidance to govern you going forward.
Well, thank you. I just, again, for clarity, because it's just that we need to know, we all need to be on the same page instead of understanding this for future purposes. Thank you.
Councilmember Gay?
What constitute advertisement and notice?
So you have to publish it on the website, a conspicuous place where the meeting is going to be held at City Hall. And if it's a meeting not at the normal place, you'd have to publish it in the legal order.
So is the city's website considered?
Yes.
Because I know my meetings are put on the website weeks in advance. That notice, certain elected officials may come and render remarks. So notice is allowed on social media.
Yes, sir. I mean, putting on the city's website is part of the notice part.
Because I know during the civil rights, they used to march and they locked them up. And they said, well, we gave y'all notice. And they said, well, we just got here. And the man said, no, we put a sign on a tree. We gave y'all notice. So it's very ambiguous when you start talking about notice. But I will say for the record, ours was on social media. So there it is.
City Attorney, last year we had what I felt was an improper meeting. This was in December, and it was a BIDA meeting that we knew that more than three council members or more were going to be at the meeting. And I said to myself, I said, we need to make this a joint meeting because we know that there are going to be 3 of us here for sure. And when we got to the meeting, first of all, I suggested that we call this a meeting for council and mayor because we had 4 members of the elected body there, in addition to BIDA. However, I was, the meeting was not called as a meeting by mayor and council, but now we've made some changes where 3 council members can call a meeting when we deem it necessary in terms of, transparency, that when there are 3 there, we need to call it a meeting. So we want to make sure that we're able to do that. This is one of the reasons we made that change to the ordinance from my experience last year in December, where we were there at the BIDA meeting and we had to hamstring something together where a couple of members couldn't speak and they were there as citizens only. And you're right, we need to streamline it that way that does not happen again. But I did insist that we call that as an official meeting of council and mayor, but everyone didn't feel that way. So, but now we can get it together and we have the authority to do it as well with 3 votes. So, all right.
May I add something? I'm responsible for posting the meetings of mayor and council. I'm not responsible for posting the public forums or community forums. that's not something that has been under my purview. So when it came to me, I was not aware of the meeting whatsoever. So when I asked one of the communications staff members, do you know anything about the meeting? And they said no. I said, well, it's not a meeting of mayor and council, so we cannot post it as such. My suggestion was a community forum, because I did not know of any other options, because it's not a special call meeting and it's not a public meeting that requires action. So that was my suggestion.
Yeah, that's
if
what she
there's
said.
any other way you would like to do it going forward, I'm open to it. But meetings of mayor and council, I'm responsible for getting that information out to communications, and they push it out to the public.
Understandable. So city attorney, city manager, we're going to make that change in terms of any meeting when there's 3 or more.
And I have to add this part, that there are penalties under the Open Meetings Act, criminal penalties. And so this is serious business. And so what I say to you is, if there's going to be a gathering of a quorum, I believe that the meeting should be advertised. But we're going to discuss city business. And so, Mr. City Manager, my advice and recommendation would be, whether it's an official meeting, a called meeting, or whatever the case might be, when we know there's going to be a gathering of a quorum, that we advertise that meeting as such.
And the city attorney, back to you, for his town hall meetings, if it's published that members of council may come by and render words, I want to just, for the record, you're saying that if it's on the city's, as well as other social media sites, that constitutes notice.
Yeah, we have notice requirements that require publication on the website and in a legal order.
Wait a minute. You just said something different 5 minutes ago.
I mentioned the legal order the last time.
So my question is, if you have a town hall meeting and you put it on the city's website, is that satisfied notice?
That may not be sufficient. You may have, depending on the location, you may have to put it on the website and the legal. It might be a two-step process. But what I'm saying is, once you notify the staff that there's going to be a gathering or a quorum, we'll figure out precisely how to advertise for that staff.
And if our clerk or our city manager or our elected officials who may be smarter than we are see that someone is having an event where elected officials are being invited, wouldn't that not trigger the professionalism standards of somebody who knows better? I mean, you say, hey, this guy's having a town hall meeting. Oh, I see the elected officials. Let's also, I mean, what I'm saying is, in the spirit of what we're trying to say and do, I would expect that other people who have knowledge of this, if you see a flyer that sees pictures of elected officials, if you know that that's a constitute, then somebody need to also take a lead role here. I invited you. Okay?
Yes, you did.
So, we're a team.
Sounds like we're fixing it right now, though. It sounds like we got it fixed.
So can we just decide now that, maybe we need to take a vote or whatever, just make a consensus that any meeting that we have it should be publicized going forward on the public organ, as well as anything that's going to go on our website advertising a meeting? Because even like on Friday, we had the women's program, and we had all 4 council members and the mayor. All of us were there, and all of us spoke.
Well, I would agree with you at 90% of that. I would say any meeting that we suspect that there may be more than 3 at a meeting. If I'm having a meeting at one of my apartment complexes, I pretty much know that there's not going to be a quorum there. I mean, but those meetings that are obvious events where we suspect that something, we'll let you all make the judgment with communications and make sure these
Why not, as a rule of thumb, any elected official to have any meeting whatsoever becomes the responsibility of the clerk and the city manager to post it?
Yeah, I agree.
In the city organ, and that's y'all's responsibility.
Everything, every single meeting.
And that's it.
Meetings, not events, for clarity.
Anything where an elected official is sponsoring, gonna be there, a colleague could possibly come by, it needs to be posted.
Well, events.
I'd rather err on the side of caution.
I mean, it's y'all's call, but I mean, that may be going a bit far because, I mean, you could have any event where I think the key is where we know that there's going to be a quorum.
I went to your Easter egg hunt, Joe. What if Jamel had stopped by? And you had a quorum.
I think the distinction here, I think the distinction that you're missing here.
It was an event, though. I think that's
that's a stretch.
I think that
the community meeting.
I mean, the distinction that you're missing is that if you're talking about business, I mean, the Women's History event on Friday, due to the raging pollen in the air, I said my greetings and then I left, and there wasn't. I mean, there was a movie shown. I think that's different than having a meeting talking about business. And so it is incumbent upon us as elected officials to be cognizant of the laws that govern us and the ways in which we can conduct ourselves when there's more than one of us around. And so, I mean, I think placing the onus on our staff to track our movements, to have every single event noticed is unwieldy, unreasonable, and unduly burdensome.
And you were right, and I want to just say this for the record. There was a public comment that said you have a voice. Now, this has been recorded publicly, that you have an opportunity to express, and you have done that publicly throughout tonight. So it needs to be incumbent that you are clearly demonstrating that you are not silenced. That's all I have.
So, and again, I guess back on this subject, again, last Thursday, and that's probably going to come back up again, on Wednesday, we had more than 24 hours advance to give notice. The media team was asking whether or not this should be advertised as a public meeting or a community meeting. Keisha's not here now, but I don't know, Ms. Preston was aware that we were trying to determine whether this meeting should be advertised as a public meeting or a community meeting. And
if I don't mind, Councilwoman, as many of you know, this matter was kind of touched on in a matter that was submitted to the Georgia Attorney General, and I'm in the process of responding to the Attorney General right now. And that's why I specifically and purposely did not get into the specifics of the event that happened.
Okay.
And I don't think it's prudent to do so.
all right, then I'll let that go.
City Manager's report. Report of Mayor and Council, starting with Mayor Motley Broom.
Dr. Adediran, I sent you an email earlier today at 1:32 p.m. asking you to forward any subsequent correspondence that you'd received from Southwest Atlanta Energy Storage or Next Era regarding the Zero Welcome All Road rezoning since Thursday, March 21st, correct?
Yes, and I sent the document to you.
And then you attached a letter received after March 21st, and then you said the former documents were dated March 18th and 19th, and that was at 3:24 p.m. Is that correct?
The initial, yes.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, I sent you.
And then I asked you to forward the correspondence in which you received the letter, correct? The most updated letter that Mr. James was talking about, correct?
Yeah, yes, I forwarded that to you, yes, ma'am.
Yes, and I asked you to send the correspondence in which you'd received the letter, correct?
And I stated to you it was hand-delivered.
And I asked you by whom. Is that correct?
Ma'am, you requested for the document, and I gave you the document.
I asked you.
And I'm not obligated to tell you. I told you I received it. It was hand-delivered, and I'm not, you know.
And I asked you by whom. Is that correct? I asked you by whom at 3:31 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, you did, but you asked for the document.
And then your
I gave you
response
the
at
document.
3:33 p.m. was that Mayor, you requested the document and you got it.
Yes.
Is that correct? I'm still on my report, sir.
Point
Nope.
of order.
Sir, this is my report.
With all due respect, I think this is a matter, City Attorney, that probably needs to be discussed in executive session.
There is nothing regarding litigation, real estate, or personnel.
Well, to me, it seems like
suggestion.
Dr. Adediran? Dr. Adediran.
This is crossing the line, becoming like harassment. That's what
Dr. Adediran?
You asked for a document, I gave it to you. Did I give you the document, yes or no?
And yes, sir, you gave me the document,
Okay.
and then I asked you from whom you received it. And now, since you didn't answer me, I'm going to ask you again. Who hand-delivered the document?
It's relevant. I gave you the document you asked for.
Dr. Adediran, I'll ask you again. Who hand-delivered the document?
As I stated, it doesn't have anything to do with the document. I gave you the document you requested for, and that's it.
Dr. Adediran, who hand-delivered the document?
Ms. Mayor, you asked for a document, I gave you the document, and that's it.
Are you refusing to answer my question?
You call it whatever you want to call it, but you crossing the line of, to me, now it seems like you're trying to harass. That's and City Attorney, I want to file a motion, because it's getting ridiculous now. You asked for the document, I gave you the document. Did I not give you the document?
Dr. Adediran, you did give me the document.
Okay, so.
And then you told.
What does it have to do with where I got the documents from?
Dr. Adediran, there is a great deal of community interest in this particular issue. I'm asking you one more time. Who hand-delivered the document to you?
Whoever gave me the document don't have nothing to do with anything. I gave you the document you requested for, and that's it.
Dr. Adediran, the document you sent me, because Mr. James is not the only person who can handle metadata.
Mr. James is not the only one
that can handle metadata. That document wasn't hand-delivered to you.
Yes, it was.
Because
if you were here Thursday, you would have got the same document I got.
The document you sent me was created by Melissa Schroeder on Thursday. The metadata reflects that. So, Dr. Adediran, I'm going to ask you one more time.
Okay.
Please send me the correspondence.
It was hand-delivered.
By whom?
I don't have to answer you, ma'am. I gave you the document you requested for, and that's it.
Why do you not want to answer this question, sir?
It's not relevant to anything, and that's why. It's not relevant.
Mr. Hicks? Hi, Mr. Hicks, how are you? I'm doing well. And Ms. Ames, I will be making a request for any emails from Melissa Schroeder. And please understand that I will need to see those as quickly as possible because the metadata does not reflect that this was a hand-delivered document. And I'm very concerned about what's being represented in regard to this particular issue. And I'm deeply disappointed that you consider a direct question, by whom was this document hand-delivered, harassment? Because it's very straightforward.
I gave you an answer. You requested for the document. I gave you the document, and that should be the end of it.
But it's not.
Why not?
It is not.
Well, to me, it is.
One of us is here to represent the citizens of College Park.
Okay.
And if you can't answer that question tonight,
okay,
I believe there's probably some people who are watching this, or who will watch it tomorrow,
okay,
or the next day,
okay,
who will want that same answer.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For my clarity,
Yes, ma'am.
you said all emails from Melissa Schroeder. Is there a specific time frame and receiver?
Any receiver.
Oh, you said any.
Any receiver from Melissa Schroeder from Next Era Energy.
Got it.
All right, so I want to wish everybody, I hope they had a great Easter. Happy Ramadan to those who are celebrating. I want to echo Michael Hightower's comments about the South Metro Development Outlook. It was a great conference. We had over 600 attendees ranging, and we talked about AI issues, economic development. It was absolutely a great time for the GICC and the South Side to shine. Want to congratulate Keep College Park Beautiful on another successful cleanup day on June 23rd. Congratulations to all who got their hands dirty. They got in waiters and everything else to make sure that our community is better than when they found it. We keep on building the community that we deserve. I want to thank Superintendent of Clayton County Public Schools, Ms. Carter, for setting up the trip to Morrow High School, because we had an opportunity to see the absolutely outstanding aviation program at Morrow High School. First of all, the newly revamped Morrow High School is absolutely amazing, but the students within this program have an opportunity at Morrow High School to see aviation from the ground up, taking written tests to become FAA certified, and then going through 3 different stages. And they actually have flight simulators at the high school. I got an opportunity to actually sit in one. They wouldn't let me fly it, but it was outstanding. We've got kids who are headed off to the Air Force, who are going to 4-year institutions and going through junior ROTC, and have plans to become pilots at Delta and other airlines. And so it is an incredible opportunity for kids to have the chance to reach all new heights right in Clayton County. I want to thank everyone who is a part of the program. It is something to see. And thank you again, Ms. Carter, for setting it all up. We had our South Fulton Municipal Association meeting last week. Theron Johnson from Paramount Consulting was there talking about all of the information that was going on back and forth, because we were there in Fairburn at the same time that Sine Die was happening, which is the end of the legislative session in Georgia for the year. And so there are a number of bills headed to the governor's desk, and several of them that have particular importance to those of us in municipalities. The chief will be happy to know, well, Chief Rogers will be happy to know that there was a bill that the Georgia Municipal Association fought back that would have prohibited municipal governments from using radar on interstates. So we're happy that didn't pass, because we are all focused on public safety, and we know we have a lot of interstates that go through College Park, and so that would have certainly negatively impacted us. And we appreciate the efforts of GMA and others to make sure that local control always reigns. And House Bill 581 is a statewide floating homestead exemption that local governments can opt out of, but it also amends the Taxpayer Bill of Rights to afford greater clarity for millage rate considerations. Because every single year when we are choosing to adopt a millage rate, we have to post it in a way that tends to reflect something that may not be actually happening. Like when we have our millage rate at the same rate, because of the appreciation in home values, we have to advertise it as a tax increase, even though the city itself is not doing anything to increase taxes. And so House Bill 581, if the governor signs it, would afford greater clarity to that process. And there are a number of other bills that were considered and that have passed and are waiting on signature from the governor. And so you can find out a lot more about those through the AJC or the Georgia Municipal Association, but there's a lot of things that absolutely impact us. Want to thank ATL Plus Magazine. They named me one of the 50 most powerful women in Atlanta, along with the other mayors of Clayton County. We had a fun time at a photo shoot a couple months ago, and they had the launch party last week, but had to do business first, so I was at the South Fulton Municipal Association because we had to make sure that we were connecting with all of our colleagues in the South Fulton region. Thank you to Recreation and Cultural Arts for all of your hard work on the Women's History Month and appreciation and the annual Easter egg hunt, both of which were great events. And I want to thank the College Park Main Street Association for all of their hard work, and Ashley Bella and her entire team at Artsy Bella for the amazing Virginia Avenue mural that we cut the ribbon on over the weekend. It was a fantastic culmination of all of her hard work and a real community effort. I want to thank the Main Street Board for their vision, their planning to get us to this point. Christy Dean from Drip Through Coffee was one to note that this is the culmination of a plan that they did back in 2022. And so it just shows what goes into making sure that we get great projects in our city. It takes planning, it takes thought, it takes a level of execution, and it takes a great team. So that's all that I have. Councilmember McKenzie?
Good evening, everyone. Today is April Fool's Day. And I'm actually sitting up here right now and saying, are we being April Fooled? On the 1st of April, which occurs every single year today, we celebrate, and it's been celebrated for several centuries, this throughout different cultures, April Fool's Day. No one really knows the exact origins of how it began. But you know, what happens is actually Chaplain Walker did it. You know, somebody says something and then it's not true. And they say April Fools at the end. Some historians believe or speculate that April Fool's Day it dates back to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And what happened is, for almost 90 days, how hysterical, almost 90 days, where we are right now, people who were slow to get the correct news or failed to recognize that the start of the new year had moved to January 1st, so they were thinking that April 1st was the beginning of the year. And so they were waiting for April 1st to celebrate a year that had already began on January 1st. And they became the butt of jokes and hoaxes, and they were called April Fools. So just wanted to give you a little bit of history of April Fools as we are on April Fool's Day. I also have a question, because I want to ask the city attorney if you could really assist us. You don't have to answer this question now, but we really need some assistance with understanding and interpreting our charter. Because according to the charter, elected officials are not to give directives to city staff, that we give it to the city manager and the city manager in turn. So I would like a bet. I don't need it now, but I would like an interpretation. I think there's a lot of things that we are experiencing. We're under quite a bit of scrutiny, and we all want to make sure that we are following the legal bounds that are expected of us as elected officials here, including like for down to the meetings, everything, because our city deserves better. Anyway, just to go through a few of the things that have happened this month or these last couple of weeks, I did hear Pat Zachary mention the fact that it seemed as though that they were not given the opportunity to take the classes for the Planning Commission. I did send Pat a text while we were here. My commissioner, Tina Hill, reached out about wanting to take a course, and I want to thank City Manager Adediran for actually setting that up and allowing her to, the city will fund that. And I think that any planning member, we're only talking $190 for a class that will help persons. I was not aware that our Planning Commission, BIDA, we have to go through training within a prescribed time. So from the perspective of BIDA, we are trained to understand what we're supposed to do. And if we have persons on boards and commissions in this city and they don't have the foggiest what their role is or what the documents, I've had board members still looking for documentation to understand what the different boards. So we've got to do better, but also I believe that we should make available the training that's necessary, because as a council, we are depending on our board representatives and appointees to come to us with recommendations. When the BZA brings us something, I'm not going to be having to do their work again. I'm expecting them to give me a recommendation. I'm expecting the Planning Commission to give me a recommendation so that I don't have to do the work that they've already been given to do. So I heard about the cleanup of the Brady Trail, and Karen, that is something we're going to focus on, because John did a great job in getting that trail to where it could be walkable, beautiful, and I know that this is an off time of the year, but I am requesting that, Dr. Adadaran, that we look into the Brady Trail, and whatever needs to be done, we want to, one of my objectives is going to be beautifying College Park. When we dedicated, or we cut the ribbon on that mural on Virginia Avenue, it was just amazing. And just looking at the beauty, this is a beautiful city, and I just see murals, I see artwork, I see cleanliness, all the things that we think of when we think of beauty. That's what I'd like to see in our metropolis. I had the opportunity in the last 2 weeks to share with some amazing fifth graders at Fieldwood Elementary School. That was on March 19th. I went to class, and the funny thing was, as I started speaking to them, they wanted to know what I do as an elected official. I don't know if I messed up. By the time I finished, none of them wanted to be an elected official. So that's just kind of funny. It's a hard job. If it was easy, I guess everybody would want to do it. And then when they heard about the pay, they just couldn't believe that you do all this stuff. So, so it's lower than minimum wage. So I attended a recycling meeting on March 21st, and again, that is one of my perspectives. I really want to see us really take care of the planet over the next 4 years. That if nothing happens, I want to do things that bring clean energy to our city, that make sense on our Main Street corridor. I want to thank John Duke, who's really kind of become a big brother to me, and just the advising, and we got a lot of work to do. And I would invite anybody that wants to see a beautiful city, please reach out to me. Let's do this thing together. Let's take care of our city together. Of course, we know that I did attend several, 2 town hall meetings, one for Councilwoman Arnold, one for Councilman Gay. We also attended the Minority Business Awards banquet on the same night as Councilman Gay's meeting. Favor House had a wonderful food giveaway at the Tracy Wyatt Rec, and I'm sure that Councilwoman Arnold will talk more about that. She sponsored that or hosted that as well, and just grateful for the amazing things that are happening. We had Keep College Park Beautiful. We had our citywide cleanup last Saturday. And we don't have the numbers because we didn't keep up with the bags that were collected, but I know we made a great dent in our city during that time. Also, Nexus Church, under the leadership of Pastor Harris, they had their opening service on Palm Sunday. I was able to attend that. The place was packed. That church is on Main Street, right where Spice, I think, Jerk House is, across the street from there. And there were cars all up and down the street. And we're just happy about new ministries, new projects, new initiatives, people wanting to come to our city. And that's it. I'm not going to get into too much today. I think that I've shared enough, but it has been an honor and a privilege to serve the great people of Ward 1 in the city of College Park. This is my 91st day in this seat. Maybe it's 92. I'm starting to lose count. But I consider it an honor and a privilege to be able to sit here and to speak and to make decisions. And yes, I will do better. That is my plan, to do better every single day. But I need your help. And again, I invite anyone and everyone that has anything that you need to discuss or any idea, reach out to me. But let's do it in a manner of kindness and mutual respect. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Carr?
All right, thank you. First thing, happy Easter. I hope everybody had a great Sunday. I did church, and the weather was absolutely perfect. I mean, it was really something on Easter. I mean, that was a great Easter, I gotta admit. We had a great service, obviously, packed house. Myself and Congresswoman Williams, we're the only elected officials that attend our church. So her and her family were there, of course, and my wife and I, we just really enjoyed ourselves, and good relaxing Sunday. I sent happy Easters out to everybody. Mayor, did you get my happy Easter message? Well, I'm glad you got it. I sent it to I think I sent it to just about everybody. Also, Saturday, we had a great Easter egg hunt, great Easter egg event in the community. It was at Willis Park, and we had 85 folks to turn out. They came in we went over the time limit, actually. And Michelle, I want to thank you so much for the eggs. I'll say it again. I want to thank you for the eggs and the baskets. They did not go to waste. I tell you, we kept putting out rounds of those eggs, and it got to a point where some of the kids were following us around when we were trying to hide the eggs, so we had to pull a diversion move, which was pretty good. We gathered them all in one spot, and I did some giveaways with all of them in the crowd while the parents were hiding the eggs. So it went pretty well. Kenny, I want to thank you for your help there, helping out in the community. Great event, great community turnout, just really great event. Also, the Women's History Month event. That was absolutely incredible. You could feel the power up on that stage and in that crowd. I mean, was it just me?
It was awesome.
I mean, it was like, your hairs were standing on your skin there. It was really, there was something in the air there. That was really a special event. And, it's so important that we recognize our community folks. You cannot do this without community residents and community partners. Folks, if you're dependent on government to solve all your problems, let me tell you right now, you're going to be let down, because government cannot do it alone. No government. It takes community partnerships. It takes volunteers. It takes the churches. It takes all of these nonprofit organizations to make it happen. And I'm just so happy that we do have that in this city. We're not a perfect city, but we're working hard, and I'm always going to be doing the best that I can to make sure we get it together and keep it going. A couple of things I did want to touch on. The young lady that came at public comments from Fulton County, she's the Fulton County Municipal Liaison Policy Person. When I was county commissioner, that was a position that I asked my colleagues on the Fulton County Commission to create and establish that position so that someone from the county would be in constant contact with all 15 cities on a weekly basis in the county, so that the county could know what was going on in these cities and what was happening, because it affected the county level. So communication, cross-communication, that's important. It took a couple of years for them to get the position, but it finally rolled around. I know I pushed for that all the while I was commissioner. City manager, we want you to be sure to replace the Road Street signage with the proper Lottie Miller Drive signage. I understand that signage was ordered, before the name change, but we want to make sure we change those signs from the Road Street signs to the proper Lottie Miller signs. We definitely want to make sure we take care of that and cover that. Couple other things. I know we talked about how we're collecting from our businesses in terms of owed monies. And that's been something we've been working on for a while now. A couple of meetings ago, we did approve our collection agency outfit to pursue the delinquent bills that are due. Althea, I don't know if that's under you, but I guess we have that up and rolling, because I know we approved that contract. I guess it was February. No, March. First meeting in March, I think. So are they out and at it? Okay, well, we want to keep tabs on that and see how they're doing, because they promised a better percentage clip than the previous outfit. So we're looking forward to getting those collections in. We need all of the money that we're due, and we want to make sure we're following up on every penny. So, city manager, we got to make it our business to make sure that happens. A couple other things that we talked about. The Brady Trail, it does need work. I'm one of the few people that walk that thing on a regular basis. I know I would always run into a guy. It was a guy named Phil that would walk sometimes. He had a dog, and I would see him kind of often. Every now and then I'll see another person, but it is cut regularly. Now, can it be done a little more often? Sure, but it does get regular cuts, so you do keep it cut. I do walk it, again, regularly myself. Now, there are some of the railing and some of the fencing that at some point a tree fell on one of the railings and bent it. It's an iron railing. So we want to, and my thought is it's probably salvageable. My guess is if you take that iron railing and you heat that thing up, you can probably get, bend it back, because it wasn't totally damaged, but part of it, the tree fell on if you walk down the trail. Now, there's some mesh fencing that another tree is leaning on, and that tree needs to come off of that and, I guess, replace that. So we want to definitely get down there and make some maintenance and some repairs there. We talked about the incident in the park. I know that came up, and Roderick, I know that that happened in Phillips Park there. During these warm months in particular, obviously, I think we need to, have an officer do a walking patrol, chief, in these parks. And I guess we have the park rangers, so I guess they can kind of give us a feel for the ebb and flow of what might be the best times, so on and so forth, since they're in and out of there every day, I would imagine. So,
Councilman, they will start tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, park attendants now.
Right. Well, it's warm. I don't think winter's coming back, so we want to make sure we've got coverage out there in the parks. But parks are very, very popular, even with folks that don't live in the city. Usually our city folks do okay out there without any problems to speak of, but every now and then, you're going to get, knuckleheads. I want to try to find out with the Planning Commission what exactly is the reason that they haven't received any training. And if someone did tell Deborah, our city planner, that funds were not available, I want to find out what happened there. We want to make sure that there are funds available for training. Those are not expensive sessions of training, but we want to make sure that they do have the proper training. If you ask them to volunteer, we want to make sure that they're trained properly to know the rules and regs and get the proper training like any other appointed city planners do. The other thing with Public Works, at some point I want us to look throughout the city. Some of our street signs, they simply basically need to be power washed. Some of them got some mold on them and some things on them. They don't necessarily need replacement. They're in good shape, but they need so we want to make sure some of those street signs, speed limit signs, stop signs, I'll see some every now and then. I'll stop at a corner. So we want to maybe do a round of power washing with all this pollen in the air. I think it's definitely time, but some of them still have some mold on them from the winter so we want to make sure we cover that. The legislative session has ended. The mayor touched on some of the issues and some of the things that they did accomplish. I was at the South Fulton Municipal Association meeting as this body designated me as the representative. So I made it there, and then I went to Sine Die. I always cover the end of the session, and I'm down at the Capitol several times. One of the big bills I was pushing was with a state representative by the name of Casey Carpenter. He's a Republican, but you got to work with it. Whatever's going on underneath the Gold Dome. Also, Mary Margaret Oliver on the Democratic side. Probably one of the best bills that came out of this session for this city was House Bill 404. It's like our area code, House Bill 404. What is that House bill? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think it was almost custom made for the city of College Park. Essentially, it's some regulatory requirements for rental apartments. which again, we're 75% rental. So this bill was pretty much right up our alley. And I was so glad that it happened. I was so glad that we got it, that it passed almost unanimously. I think it was only maybe 2 votes that were against this bill. Some of the basic requirements of it is that any contract or lease agreement, and we have hundreds of them in College Park, it has to include the provision that the unit is fit for human habitation. In other words, a decent unit, a decent apartment unit. Why is that important to us? Well, we've got some apartments that are 45 years and older. I've got one apartment complex that was opened in 1968 when King was assassinated. And it's still there with some of the same electrical in those walls and plumbing. And when electrical gets that old, I'm gonna tell y'all something, sooner or later, some of those circuits are gonna fail. Now, you know, we need to look at these things in terms of raising the standards in these apartments. This bill helps make that happen. The other pieces in the bill, it's called the Safe at Home Act, House Bill 404. So we're looking forward to what that means for us. It also has a provision where it kind of makes the squatting thing possibly a thing of the past. And I think that's a good thing for our communities. We've got lots of apartment complexes where they're just squatters that have commandeered a unit, tear up the unit, and it's a long, drawn-out court process to remove someone that's really trespassing in the units. This is trouble for the neighbors and folks that actually rent and are paying the rent when you have that kind of trouble. So this circumvents, theoretically, some of the court process, the long, drawn-out court process. Chief, I'm going to be meeting with State Legislative Council to get an understanding in terms of the way the bill was created. It's so that counties and municipalities can create their own set of standards for decent habitation. And everybody may have a different definition of that. I mean, this is a statewide bill. You may have some apartment complexes in a rural county in South Georgia where, you know, they're dirt roads. And that's acceptable because 75% of their roads are dirt roads. So their what's fit is going to apply for them. Our what's fit is going to apply for us. With us, it's mostly with the age, excessive deferred maintenance and neglect, which is what we're dealing with. So we're looking forward to using that tool to make sure that we better our community. So we're very happy about that. We talked about the Parks and Rec thing, and Michelle, I'm glad I wanted to make those tweaks that we talked about. So let's look at all of that. I looked up the head of household. So if you're head of household and you're under 65 years old in 2024, you don't have to file income taxes if you make less than $20,800. And there's some people that don't file their income taxes because, you know, they're under that threshold. Not something we're proud of, but it is what it is. So we want to make sure that our requirements don't leave anybody out. So we just want to keep that in mind. I understand we have the Fulton, the FACA person. Is that with finance out there, the FACA, Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority, you know, with the resources for utility help and rental assistance and such. So we have a trained individual that's trained with Fulton County's FACA that people can apply directly with the city. In other words, you don't have to go downtown to Memorial Drive to the FACA headquarters to apply for utility bill assistance. We are a pilot program for FACA, the first of its kind in Fulton County, where you can come directly to the city and apply for utility bill assistance, for some rental assistance. So that's a first, and we're the guinea pig, and I don't know who the individual is that we have trained up there, but I'd like to meet them and just get a feel for how we're looking and updating that. One thing we want to actually also do as well, city manager, more communication, getting the word out that you don't have to go downtown now if you need rental assistance. FACA is here on site with a trained person with FACA contractually obligated to make sure those funds are spent. And FACA has millions of dollars that they're trying to give away every year some years they're not able to give away all of the utility assistance money. Did y'all hear what I said? Some years they have so many millions that they have to give some back to the state. Now, I don't want them giving any back. And I wanted to make sure that College Park, and I made it my business to make sure that College Park was the first city to have a contractual on-site FACA person. So that money is available. I'm gonna say it again, that money is available. The city manager, if they don't know about it, so we wanna make sure we get the word out. Last couple of things I'll just touch on here. In regards to the little conversation that we had there, you know, the city manager works for the governing body, and there probably is not a week that goes by that we all have conversations or correspondence with the city manager, where we have a private discussion that remains confidential. You know, that same applies regarding discussions with our city attorney, just like any other government. Some discussions are privileged, and we have to be able to operate the government where we can work through our issues and work with our challenges, and that's just, I guess, par for the course, more or less. No city is perfect. Are we perfect? No. But I do believe, once again, that we are all working hard to do the best job that we can in our purview, to do the best for this city, and to put our residents first and foremost above all other things. So we're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to make progress in this city, and that's all I got for this evening. Thank y'all.
Councilmember Arnold.
Thank you. At the meeting held on March 18th, 2024, this council considered a renewed motion to rezone the property located at 0 Welcome All Road from the business park zoning classification to light industrial zoning classification. I voted in favor of the rezoning at that time. However, since March 18th, I have become aware of facts that cause me great concern. In fact, the actual circumstances surrounding the rezoning are not what I understood them to be when I voted on March 18th. I cannot, in good conscience, allow my vote to stand when in truth, I oppose this action. Therefore, I hereby formally request to change my vote cast on March 18th, 2024, from approval of the rezoning to denial of the rezoning. Madam Clerk, please make sure that my statement is recorded verbatim in the minutes. I've also sent you this statement in writing to be added to the official records. And this is not an April Fool's joke. Now to my updates. The past 2 weeks included me participating in various meetings to discuss items about our ward and participating in events, including the Georgia Minority Business Award ceremony and Councilman Gay's Ward 4 Town Hall meeting. I also joined Favor House in a food giveaway at the Tracy Wyatt Recreation Complex, where we served well over 50 families. I participated in the Women's History Month event, where both Ms. Kara Hill and Ms. Cynthia Hightower shared words of wisdom on behalf of Ward 3. And I'm sending a special thank you to each of them for their participation. I held a strategic meeting with my appointees where they shared updates and I shared updates with them, addressed opportunities for growth and improvement. I also joined the College Park Main Street Association in Aerotropolis in a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Virginia Avenue mural. This was an excellent culmination to the Women's History Month with the recognition of the beautiful artwork of Miss Ashley Bella and her team. On the 27th, I held my own town hall meeting for Ward 3, where residents received updates from each of my appointees, the city manager, the director of Building and Property Sustainability, long title, the chief of police, and me. During the meeting, I addressed questions and shared information about the ongoing community survey that we have going on for Ward 3. I shared with the group that I hosted my last set of conversations with residents about the planning board position and informed them of the individual who was selected for this position. For those who were not selected, I extended an invitation to them to join me in a kickoff meeting for the Ward 3 Thrivers, a community volunteer team. This meeting will be held on April 13th at 11 a.m. at the Tracy Wyatt Recreation Complex, and is open to all Ward 3 residents who want to join this volunteer team. Finally, I want to share my sincere gratitude to Dr. Emanuel and his entire staff for the outstanding support with the Ward 3 Town Hall and the food giveaway. Impeccable team. I look forward to continuing to work together and achieving greater things in the future. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Councilmember Gay?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I don't even know where to start. So, when I'm just trying to keep this lively. You know, there's some apartments on Roosevelt Highway. It's 2601 Roosevelt Highway. It used to be the worst apartments in the city. It was gang related, like third world country. And probably that's where I got most of my votes from when I first ran and got elected. And most of those people don't even live there no more. But my point in bringing this up is that two guys got to arguing and one shot through the door and killed the guy. And I went around there and looked at the door. I saw the bullet hole in the door. So that morning, the media was out there. Early in the morning, they was out there real early. And I noticed the cameraman. I noticed, he said, "Do you live out here? You want to give a statement?" I was like, no, I don't want to give. I want to let them know I'm an elected official. But he had this camera, and I think a rat or something rolled by, and he took his camera and he started trying to record the rat, right? And I said, hey, what the rat got to do with somebody that lost their life? So I said that to our camera people. They'd rather see the rats than the substance of what took that boy's life. That's all that man wanted footage for, rats. He wanted to compare rats and rodents to a story. And I noticed when there was some belly aching a few minutes ago, our cameraman jumps up and he want to make sure they get that footage. But how I feel about it is rats. Second thing I want to say is that, I too voted against Next Air twice. Over 2 years, but I did not vote for him because of the facts. I voted against him because of ignorance. I was mad at my colleagues. I didn't want to see them advance. And I was just straight mad and straight ignorant. So that's why I voted against him. Actually, knowledge is what made me understand the importance of clean energy. I tell you, these lights that you see right now, these lights that are on right now, the lights when you go home, the lights in your deep freezer, all this power in this whole region comes from a nuclear reactor. It comes from a nuclear reactor that has had an explosion that's several $1 billion that our city, MEAC, and other MEAC cities have had to cover the cost. But like I said, I voted against it because of ignorance. And ignorance is not a bad word, just not knowing. So I much rather see clean energy than be dependent on fossil fuel and nuclear plants. And I'm proud that we have a city where Fortune 500 companies see the value. And I do want to share this for the people. Talk about ignorance. I asked, why they got to be down there? Why they got to be in Stone? Why they got to be in that location? Have anybody want to know why they got to be down there? Because quite frankly, they can come on Global Gateway on the 100 acres on Global Gateway, it ain't nobody from Ward 4 gonna be in here, because they trust their council member. Because they know it don't emit any radiation, no ozone. Hell, the dump burnt in Stonewall Tail for a year. They couldn't even put that out. I see cars on the side of the road burning. They can't even put cars out or don't want to. So I would love to have the battery storage on Global Gateway in them 100 acres. I put trees around it, fence. But the reason why they want to be down there is what I learned is there's a connection that's unique to most anywhere in this whole region, a tap. God forbid something would happen at the nuclear reactor and we lost our power like we lost our water and this whole region is out. Please don't call next area and tell them to cut their switch on. No, you're gonna be in the dog. Now, I'm just joking, but you know, I want to say this real quick. The tourist stadium, the Battery, we call it the Battery, Cobb County. You think this getting a lot of attention? Just pull the footage that the naysayers, the haters, the opportunists said about Kasim Reed and the commissioner who sponsored the battery plant. Just go back and look at that footage. Oh, Kasim's a crook. The commissioner's a crook. He didn't even get reelected, and he sponsored the legislation. You can't keep our children from over there. One of the most successful projects in Cobb County is Tourist Park. And what did we get when we lost the Braves? An awesome expansion to Georgia State campus, where children from all over the world have decent housing. And now, the economics is so great, Ms. South Fulton neighbor, news, that they done expanded retail. You go over there in Summer Hill now, you don't even know Summer Hill. All because one man got in bed with a developer because they had a vision. You gotta make hard choices up here sometime. And you gotta look past the naysayers, the opportunists, the haters, the one that wanna use it to satisfy their personal dislike. Same thing with the Gulch. Mayor Keisha Lambada don't even want to be a mayor. She don't even want part of governments because she single-handedly negotiated the Gulch. Because you hating on her because she had the wherewithal to negotiate the Gulch, $1 billion project. Now it's about to be Atlanta's #1 project, the best thing since the civil rights. And last, I'll tell you this. Do not go down to MEAC. Anybody on council, anybody, don't not go down to MEAC and enjoy the old people nice things. Because guess what? They're going to tell you about the battery. Georgia Power said the need for power is so great with 2.1 million residents to provide power for, that they're looking for solar, wind, and battery plant is going to expand 80% in just the next 2 years. And I am so grateful that we are on the leading edge of that technology. Next thing I want to say is that, you know, y'all was talking about a complaint. Mr. City Manager, if you were so concerned about the open records complaint, you could have kept your comments. Because you know when you talk about it, we gonna talk about it. So if it's so sensitive, be a little bit more selective the next time you have something to say. The next thing I want to say is that we had an election. It's over with. Mr. Walker, you lost. Ms. Stoner Gay, you lost. Ladies that ran against these people, you lost. It's over. Move on. Move on. Nobody's here from Ward 4 because they love and they trust their council member. It's not that they don't care about the battery plant, and that's not it. Miss Dudley called me the other night. We had a long conversation. They trust us. They trust our integrity and they trust our character. We're in our 60s. My friends die every day. We ain't trying to go to God and say, hey, we sold out. But no. We trying to provide clean energy. And anything south of 20, anything south of I-20, anything south of I-20. I could not even listen to TV Sunday morning to the preacher for them planes. That's how loud they are. What I'm gonna do about it? How you think my cousin, who's the mayor of Riverdale, feel when they took our whole city to build a fifth runway? What'd she do? She started coming down here belly aching. She built stuff. And she get elected, she don't even have to put a campaign sign up. But they took all of Riverdale. That's where you live. This where we live. What you think will happen with that pipeline? Y'all see that yellow pipeline that go all the way up and down? What you think that is? That's centrifugal flow of gas. If and one of them fuel tanks up there by Spun Davis catch on fire, you think we gonna put them out, Chief? Man, you talked about it. You gonna put them tanks out? But guess what? It ain't gonna make you stop flying tomorrow. I'm gonna get on my 6:30 flight to Jackson, Mississippi in the morning. So let's cut this nonsense out. And that brings me to my next point. There was a case called City of College Park versus Allen Gravitz. When I first got on council, there was a group of people that came from Ward 1, and all they did was complain and lie and spread vitriol, libel, slanderous gossip. Man used to sit in his yard with signs. He would not stop. I had Fritz and him coming in my office my first year, want to investigate you and all y'all. This young man, back there, all of them, my first year in office. Now they don't Speak Up College Park, lying on me, po me. And my point is, Speak Up College Park, in my opinion, is a hate site. It ignites the ideology of sick people, in my opinion. And what do I mean by that? It is no different than true social media. Read it. Yeah, it's freedom of speech, but it's a line that goes, why you think it's bulletproof up under these things up on here? This is bulletproof. We got bulletproof because you never know when some sick puppy is gonna come up here and say, I'm tired of you stealing, I'm tired of you taking these people's money. Bam, bam. They did it on a Sunday to Dr. King's mama. Somebody evoked the weak testamentary capacity of some sick person. Stop it. The easiest thing it is to insinuate hate. That's why you got Tulsa Mass. In our history, it is so easy to insinuate hate. Right here in College Park, this battery storage is no more than just a big, convenient way to continue to spew your hate, your ideology, your ignorance. When Clay Ambrose championed this, the Mr. MIT from the electric engineer, oh, he was a champion. Ain't nobody said, nobody came from Ward 1. Not one person. Not one person. And then you got these opportunities. You lost the election. It's over with. Wait 4 more years, and if you still feel like you want to do it, do it. But don't come down here every night with this dog and pony show. Go take care of your family, because you get nothing here. The next thing I want to talk about is this property tax. So, councilwomen who new to council, I came down here my first year and I seen an auctioneer right here, auction off tap property tax. And your delinquent property tax was being auctioned. It gets auctioned right here in this city hall. And one of the largest buyers is one of our elected officials' family. And some of our elected officials got properties right now off of the back of these property taxes right now. So, Lakeitha told me one time, when you point your finger, 3 more point at you. These elected officials with these narcotics in these warehouses, we know all this. So we're gonna ask for a moratorium to stop the selling and auctioning of people delinquent taxes. Just send it to Invesco or hold the debt until they can pay it. But you cannot make a person whole if they done bought a $300 tax for $20,000, $30,000. That's what you ought to be getting mad about. That's what you need to be down here angry about. You think a company that's worth $1 billion is going to damage their reputation by getting in bed with elected with us? You think really they care about us? So, Mr. Kasim Reed, kudos to you for your vision to see the battery plant in Georgia State. You said it was going to be a transformational, and you were right. I just got 2 more things. If we sell Jim Evans baseball field or any other of our city assets, they need to be recompensed. They need to be replaced. If we sell a ball field, you need to put it back somewhere. You don't just come here and buy our assets. And you don't just sell them. You replace them. And quite frankly, I don't care where you put it. Just replace it. But the last thing I want to say is, I don't think nobody up here, I think everybody up here is law-abiding citizens. Everybody up here is law-abiding citizens. If we wanted to steal, we wouldn't be in this profession. There's a lot of other ways to break the law. I myself have been law-abiding for the last 4 decades. I'm appalled that someone will insinuate on social media that our integrity, I'm appalled. That my daddy in his grave, son, his seed is being questioned. I'm appalled. And I will say this respectfully. Nothing is going to happen to us. Because when you do right and you got mercy and grace, y'all can do whatever you want. And you opportunists out there, you know who you are. You know who you are. I'm looking at you. You know who these opportunists. If you're going to start influencing people, influence them with the whole story. Don't do it to maximize your agenda. And that is my minutes.
Thank you, sir. I think we have one item regarding cybersecurity to discuss in executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember McKenzie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Arnold. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous. We'll enter into executive session to discuss cybersecurity.